Good afternoon, football fans. The day dawned bright and clear. The sun was out in all its majestic maize and blue and scarlet and gray November colors all morning long, and we've saved the best until last. That's right. Today, the Michigan Football Network brings you the final Michigan football game of 1977. The quick and agile Michigan Wolverines versus the powerful Buckeyes from Ohio State in their annual bloodletting before the largest regular season crowd in the 108-year history of man's inhumanity to man. That's right, there are 106,024 howling, screaming fans along with you and me, and we're all anxiously waiting for kickoff of the 74th chapter of that old familiar classic, The Tale of Two Cities, Ann Arbor, Michigan versus Columbus, Ohio, because in just 3 short hours from now, one of these little old Midwestern towns will be experiencing the heights of ecstasy while the other will be suffering from the agonizing, magnified despair of defeat. Big Bo and Little Woody, the big two of the Big Ten, locking horns for the 9th time in a ball game that will decide, first of all, the Big Ten football champion for 1977, and secondly, and almost equally important, the Big Ten Rose Bowl candidate for 1978. Do you football fans realize these two great coaches, probably two of the greatest in our lifetime, are absolutely dead even in Big Ten play since they started knocking heads back in 1969, since Bo Schembechler took over as head coach here at the University of Michigan at the start of that 69 season? Big Bo and Little Woody have won exactly 61 Big Ten games. They have both lost 7. They have both tied 1. As a matter of fact, that tie was with each other 10-10 4 years ago right here on Canham's carpet. 73 was the year, and remember, that was followed by that infamous Rose Bowl vote. Who will ever forget that? You know, over this 9-year period, overall, Bo has 85 wins, 12 losses, 3 ties. Woody has 81 victories, 14 losses, and 2 ties, which gives old General Bo a slight edge over Woody in victories. As far as head-to-head confrontations in the past 8 years are concerned, Woody has won 4 times, Bo has won 3, and there was that one tie game we talked about. But in Woody's 4 wins over Bo and Michigan over the last 8 years, do you realize in 3 of the 4 Ohio State victories, Michigan has outplayed Ohio State in every statistic of the game except the one that counts, the final score. But I guess that's what football's all about, the bottom line, the final score. Today's classic here on Canham's carpet, we all know, doggone it, Michigan's out there working out now. Ohio State's down on Canham's carpet. The 106,000 fans are continuing to pour in, and no matter how you look at it, it's going to be a barn burner, cliffhanger, Donnybrook. Call it what you will. Right now, I'd like to excite the blood of every dyed-in-the-wool Michigan fan while we relive the last scoring play of 1976. Remember, a year ago, late in the ball game, down in the snake pit at Ohio State, Michigan was leading 15-0. The Michigan Wolverines were on the Buckeyes' 3-yard line. The Ohio State fans sat there stunned, 84,000 of them, while the very limited 4,000 Wolverine fans were in ecstasy. I can remember it so well. Michigan won 10 years ago, 17-3, and now they lead 15-0, and they're threatening. And look at those 256 Michigan fansmen over there. Go blue, go blue. And of course, we're very impartial as usual. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Ricky Leach asks for the crowd to settle down as he hands off to Rob Lido, and it is! There it is! Oh, Rob Lido picks up touchdown number 28 on his career. He has picked up 15 touchdowns in this, his All-American season. He has climaxed a great big Michigan afternoon. Oh, how sweet it was, November 20th of 1976. Remember that final score up there on that little teensy scoreboard at the southeast corner of that Ohio State Stadium? It read Michigan 22, Ohio State zip. And you know, that was the first time that Ohio State had been shut out in 12 long years, over 113 ball games. And you know who did it last? The old bumper, Michigan's Bump Elliott, back in 1964, down there in that snake pit. It was 10-0, and Michigan went on to the Rose Bowl. Wolverine fans certainly hope history repeats itself here 13 years later. Well, you know, ever since that ball game last year, Everyone here in the state of Michigan has been anxiously waiting for the 14th coming of you-know-who. Who? Why, old Woody Hayes, of course. Yes, sir, Dr. Strange Hayes is making his 14th appearance here in Ann Arbor since he took over as the Buckeyes head coach back in 1951. And boy, let me tell you something else. Has Ohio State been waiting to take revenge for that 22-0 shellacking at the hands of the Wolverines last year? As a matter of fact, they don't give a damn for the whole state of Michigan, as their song goes down there south of the border. And we here in the state of Michigan realize that Ohio is still a four-letter word. And even Michigan State fans will go along with that statement from old Bob Ufer. But so much for fun and games. The facts are simply this. Both teams are 9-1 in the season. Ohio is 7-0 in Big Ten play right now, already assured of at least a tie for the Big Ten championship of 1977, since Michigan is 6-1 in conference play so far this year. As we touched on briefly in our opening remarks, it really appears to be Ohio State's strength here this afternoon versus Michigan's speed and agility. With both head coaches and both teams revved sky high, I'd hazard a guess right now that the team that makes the fewest big mistakes, mental mistakes, physical mistakes, that team will be the loser out here this afternoon. Both teams are evenly matched. It's a real truism in football that the team that makes the fewest mistakes usually wins the ball game, and today it would be the Rose Bowl bid as well. But more about the game itself when we talk to Bo in just a few minutes down in that Michigan locker room. Right now, as we sit here high on the western side of the hole that Yost dug, let's set the stage for Canham's carpet and all the festivities that are going to unfold here this afternoon. This is the 74th meeting between these two old Big Ten rivals. Michigan is 140, Ohio State 28. 5 times these two great football powers have played to a tie. Michigan has 27 Big Ten football championships over the years. Ohio State has 20. But so much for statistics. Right now, you know, this beautiful Michigan Memorial Stadium, it's decked right now as we look around in all the colors of the rainbow, and I'd have to say that at the moment, maize and blue and scarlet and gray are the most dominant glow that we all watch here as we see, and we have a beautiful vantage point here high on the western sideline. It looks also as though this game is going to be played, as we mentioned before, in weather that's absolutely perfect for football. This morning, the sun was out all morning long. The clouds have moved in and taken over. There's no wind to speak of. The field is dry for about the first time all year. It's dry as a bone, lightning fast. We're going to have great conditions weather-wise for football. Now, as we set the stage, let's put it this way. You know the ball game. It's Michigan versus Ohio State. You know it's the largest crowd in the history of a regular season intercollegiate football game, as 106,024 fans are sitting here anxiously awaiting kickoff. You know the weather is perfect for football. The temperature's about 40 degrees, and what could be better with no wind, no snow, no rain, none forecast? Everything's great weather-wise. Kickoff right now, I'd say, is about 16 to 17 minutes away. And you know something else right now? It's time for us to move down to that Michigan locker room for our last pregame chat in 1977 with old General Bo right after these opening messages over this, the Michigan very determined Big Ten champion and Rose Bowl bound football network. Bob Ufer here, back in the Michigan Stadium, all set for the big kickoff of the confrontation between the Wolverines and the Buckeyes. And we're down in the Michigan locker room with the old general himself, and these Wolverines are ready, believe you me. Well, Bo, first of all, you won that Revenge Bowl game last week. It had to be very gratifying in front of the largest crowd in the history of Purdue football. But the first thing that I want to ask you is, were there any injuries out of that ball game against the Boilermakers, or have there been any key injuries this week in practice?
No, he came out of the Purdue game in pretty good shape. Of course, Huckabee did not play, but he's been running well in practice, and Roosevelt Smith banged his knee, but he ran well on Tuesday and Wednesday, so we figure he's ready too. So we really came out of the game in good shape.
What about Gene Johnson?
Gene Johnson is definitely out of the Ohio State game.
And what about this afternoon when you talk about your defense, Bo? I would say, and this is just an observation on my part, that you're as good defensively, physically, as you've been all year.
Well, that's true. Our middle guards are a little bit banged up, but other than that, we're in real good shape.
Well, considering all your injuries this fall, you've been hit harder this year in the 38 years that I've covered Wolverine football. You got to be somewhat satisfied with your 9-1 record going into this last big one.
Well, I think his team has responded extremely well under those circumstances, and of course, the majority of our injuries have been on the offensive side of the picture, and that's slowed our progress somewhat. But the last couple of weeks, I've been impressed with our team, and I think that in our offensive line, we're ready to give a good account of ourselves blocking again, and I really feel that our backs will do a good job of running the ball today.
Well, speaking of the ball game today, Bo, you and Woody have been knocking heads in the Big Ten for 9 years now. Actually, in the 9 years you've coached 100 games here at Michigan, you won 85 and lost 12. Woody, over the same 9 years, has won 81 and lost 14. You fellas are identical in your Big Ten record, 61 wins, 7 losses, and a tie. You have defeated Woody 3 times. He has defeated you 4 times. And Bo, 3 of those 4 wins of Ohio State over Michigan and Bo Schembechler, you had every statistic in the book except the bottom line, the final score. That's got to hurt and smart a bit.
No, I mean, these games have been so close they could go either way. The problem is when you get beat by a field goal or something like that, you sometimes wonder, or you lose the game because you didn't kick a field goal. But I think basically year in and year out, the two teams have been extremely close. The games have been close, and it's just been a whisker here and there that has determined who wins it. But, we had an excellent game down there last year. We think we're ready to play another fine game this year. So it's going to be a great game, and anything can happen.
And, Bo, how do you react to the statement, the Big Two of the Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State, Woody, and Bo?
Well, being the last game of the year and always for the championship, I think it probably gives credence to that statement. But, there are a lot of other fine teams in the conference, even though they haven't been in a position where they could have won it in the last few years.
Bo, we're going to stop just a moment. For those of you who may have just tuned in, this is Bob Ufer. We're at the site of the annual bloodletting between Michigan and Ohio State. We're down in the locker room with old General Bo right now. Before we talk about the Buckeyes a bit further, Bo, let's pause for this message over this, the Michigan very determined championship and Rose Bowl-bound football network. Bob Ufer back here at the Michigan Stadium, down in the Wolverine locker room once again with the old general himself, George Patton Schembechler. And Bo, as I remember our locker room chats before these Ohio State games in the past, you've always said that both teams are keyed sky high. The kicking game and the turnovers will make the difference. Is that true here this afternoon?
I think it's been true, in almost any game of this magnitude, particularly the turnovers. I think that's critical, and of course, a lot of your turnovers come in the kicking game. But, you have to wait and see on those things. As far as turning the ball over, we both have done more of it than we would like during the course of the year, but both of us are running high-risk offenses. So anything can happen. The fumble, the interception, something like that could turn the game around. But you never know until you get into the battle to see exactly how it's going to go, but it should be a great football game, as all of them have been.
Well, I said it a moment ago. I'm going to repeat it. In all my 38 years, I've never seen a Michigan team so decimated with injuries from August through November. Actually, 18 men who on August 20th were slated to be first or second string have either been knocked out all season long or for the most of the season with injuries. Win, lose, and draw here this afternoon, Bo, and I've got a gut feeling you're going to win this ball game against the Buckeyes. This has got to be you and your staff's finest year of coaching at Michigan. I know it's embarrassing for you to react to that, but I would like you to react to this statement. You lost Chuck Stobart and you lost Gary Moeller. How have these two new men, Don Nalen taken over as offensive coordinator and Bill McCartney as defensive coordinator throughout this 77 season?
I think both of them done a great job. Our staff, has year in and year out done a real fine job in coaching, and those two fellows, of course, with additional responsibility, I think have really done a great job. But you don't want to dwell on the injuries, because if the program is sound, you're going to win in spite of those things. And we've been fortunate that we've had youngsters step into the breach there and play great football for us. And although we've been a little sporadic from time to time offensively, this team has given everything it can, and I think we're in a position now where we can play the type of football that we thought we would be playing throughout the year.
You were very satisfied with the performance of Purdue, in other words.
Well, I thought in the Purdue game, the defense played well right after the first drive. They shut them off completely. And the offense in the second half, I think, did the things that we thought it ought to do, particularly in our line blocking.
Now, we've talked about Michigan. What about Ohio State? How do you compare the Buckeye team today with the one you beat 22-0 a year ago in Columbus?
Well, I think they're similar defensively. I think they're both were fine defensive teams. We felt Ohio State last year was the best defensive team that we played against. Offensively, of course, they're much quicker than they were a year ago, particularly quarterback with Gerald. And changing their offense to more option stuff, I think, gives them a better opportunity to run. So I'd say the offense is stronger. The defense is the equal of the one they had last year. The kicking game is not quite as good. Because you take away that Scaldani, who, of course, I think last year kicked 52 yards a kick against us. I don't think their guy this year is capable of doing that.
And you might not have a Jimmy Smith bringing them back to negate those kicks.
Well, that's right. Although Dwight Hicks, I think, leads the conference at the present time in punt returns.
Bo, it's time for our incentives. We could talk about the fact that you want to win the Big Ten championship, which you do in the worst way. It'll make your 7th Big Ten football championship in the 9 years that you've been at Michigan. We could talk about the Rose Bowl bid, which you want real bad. We could say that you want to make it 86 wins and against only 12 losses in your 9 years as head coach here at Michigan. We could talk about you achieving your 62nd Big Ten victory against only 7 defeats. We could say that you want to keep the average score of every one of your Michigan games, and you've coached 101 of them here at the Wolverine School. Keep that average score, Michigan 30, the opponent's 8. We could say that you want to keep intact the fact that only 3 schools in the entire country have beaten you, Bo Schembechler, in your last 92 regular season games. But, Bo, I've known you, fella, for 9 years. And the only incentive that you, your team, want here this afternoon above everything else is to beat Ohio State and Woody Hayes, and in that particular order. One final question, Bo Schembechler. There's no doubt that you, your Michigan team, and your entire staff, you're all revved sky high. But what do you have to do physically out here this afternoon, both offensively and defensively, to beat the Buckeyes?
I think, Bob, first of all, you've got to talk in terms of the team, not necessarily me, you know. But I think in this ball game, what we have to do offensively, of course, is control the football more than we have in the past. And defensively, of course, we have to have a great defensive effort, the type of effort that we've had in all of our previous 8 meetings.
And that was the old general himself, Bo George Patton Schembechler. And believe me, football fans, he's got the glint in his eye that he had in 1969 before that big one. So with that in mind, yours truly, old Bob Ufer, is going to get out of this Michigan locker room, back up to the broadcasting booth, because the Wolverine Buckeye countdown to knockdown is only a minute and a half away right now over this, the Michigan, more determined than ever, championship and Rose Bowl bound football network. Can you hear them? Can you hear them across the state of Michigan and throughout the Midwest? The largest crowd in the history of a regular season intercollegiate football game, 106,024 fans being thoroughly entertained here by the pregame pageantry of George Cavender's Cavaliers. They were preceded by the second best marching band in the land, the Ohio State Buckeye Band, who rode out with their Script Ohio. There's nothing finer than seeing that Ohio State band ride out O-H-I-O on this Canham's carpet. And now this crowd being entertained down there by the Michigan Marching Band. What a show. Gee, I tell you, it's just got to make your blood boil. Isn't this what college football's all about? God darn it, this Big Bo and Little Woody confrontation every year. It's got to be as much American as apple pie, Statue of Liberty, and Mother Love. I'll tell you, we can't wait. We've seen every single Ohio State game since 1939. We've broadcast every one since 1945. And, you know, every year we think, well, it's going to be the same old thing. But, you know, it isn't. Every year is a classic all unto itself. Gosh, the first game we ever saw here was back in 1939. We were a spindly-legged, fuzzy-cheeked kid from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was a freshman here on the football team. I'll never forget, Ohio State led 14-0 at the half. Ohio State led 14-7 at the end of the third quarter. And then Michigan tied it up midway through the fourth period. It was 14-14. I can see the ball now with 17 seconds left on the clock. The ball was down there at the southeast corner on the Ohio State 19-yard line. Freddie Trosco was kneeling at the 24. Tommy Harmon, Michigan's only Heisman Award winner, was back to kick a field goal to win the ball game for Michigan. Archie Coldress was the captain of the team. He snapped the ball back to Freddie Trosco. The big All-American end of Ohio State, Esko Sarkinen, came roaring in from his defensive end position. He's still on the coaching staff, incidentally. He grabbed Tom Harmon and he said, "You're not going to kick this one." And Tommy said, "How right you are, Esko. Look where the ball is." Little Freddie Trosco had picked it up around Harmon, down that eastern sideline, into the Ohio State end zone. The gun sounded ending the game, and Michigan had a tremendous come-from-behind win, 21-14. That was old Robert Ufer's baptism of Michigan football tradition. And from there on, my gosh, I remember the legendary Fritz Chrysler. His Mad Magicians beat Ohio State down at Columbus 58-6. And then who will ever forget the infamous Snow Bowl game down at Columbus? And there in the background, incidentally, is Michigan's alma mater, the yellow and the blue. And we're going to talk football all afternoon. Let's get a little pregame band music here. The Michigan band spelling out U of M. And here it is, Michigan's legendary alma mater, the yellow and the blue. fans settling back, waiting for kickoff, which right now they tell me is about 4 minutes away. You know, we've had a slight delay. The big eye, television controls our country, whether we like it or not, and for various reasons, an international news situation, and certainly that's worthy. They have postponed the kickoff until 1 o'clock, which right now, by our clock here in the broadcasting booth, indicates it'll be in about 3 to 4 minutes. But getting back to that 1950 game, you remember Michigan didn't complete a pass. They didn't complete a first down. Ohio State had a legitimate field goal. They led 3-0. 10 inches of snow on the ground. The temperature was 5 degrees above zero. Nobody did anything that afternoon except Michigan blocked 2 Ohio State punts, 1 for a safety, 1 for a touchdown, and the miracle of the Ice Bowl put Michigan in the Rose Bowl that year, one of Benny Esteban's greatest victories. And then remember the bumper in his first game against Ohio State. That's when Woody Hayes down here on the eastern sideline first got his start toward that Oscar that he won for acting in 1971. He broke a few yard markers, and he smashed a chair on that retaining wall over there in 1959, but it didn't do him any good because Bumper and Michigan won that game 23-14. Then you remember when Bump shut out Ohio State down in the Snake Pit in 1964, 10-0, went on to the Rose Bowl, and then 12 years later, that would have been last year, Bo shut out Ohio State 22-0. Here come the captains here in 1977. We're just about set for the toss of the coin. I don't have to remind you that Michigan has been phenomenally lucky in the toss of the coin before every ball game this year. Michigan's co-captains, Dwight Hicks and Walt Downing, have won 10 consecutive tosses of the coin. Right now, they're going to be introduced to Logan and Griffin and Brown and Ward, the 4 co-captains of Ohio State, and then, of course, the officials. But while they're doing all that, suppose we pause just a moment. We asked Ricky Leach this morning at the hotel what he felt Michigan had to do to win this ball game here this afternoon, and here was Ricky Leach's answer.
Well, I thoroughly believe that the key to this game is how well our offensive line controls their defensive line. Last year down in Columbus, our offensive line did one of the greatest jobs that our offensive line in Michigan's ever done. And if this year we can get our guys going again, Walt Downing and Mark Donahue and Mike Ken, the rest of the guys, if they can control their offensive line and open the holes up for Huck and Russ, our team will be very much in this game, I believe.
Oh, and look at those players down there. The Ohio State players 4 years ago today ran under that Go Blue sign, and Big Hicks, their All-American, had the audacity to rip it down. Now the M-men, the undergraduate M-men at Michigan representing other sports, are out there, and they're not allowing Ohio State to go under the pennant, and so they are having a little bit of a confrontation. The Ohio State players and all of the other M-men representing all of the other sports, and the Gladiators for Michigan aren't even on the field yet. Oh, brother, are you and I in for 60 minutes of football? And look at the players now are wandering off. The 5 officials are staying clear of it. Let me tell you, those $250 an hour men, you know, all season long, we talked about the $200 an hour men. Well, they're $250 an hour men. They're staying way clear of it. I'll tell you, Lundo, we almost had a Donnybrook starting out this ball game.
Certainly did, Bob. They wanted to go under the M-Go Blue sign, and the fellas lined up ahead of time to stop them. A few went through, and there was a few elbows thrown. And fortunately, everything calmed down. The cooler heads resolved, and they went around the other side, and there they are. So that's the start of it.
You know, a situation like that, you don't know whether the Michigan players standing in the tunnel down there were more incensed by Ohio State arguing and shoving around the other M-men, or whether Ohio is upset because they weren't allowed to go under the Go Blue. Well, Michigan learns their lessons well 4 years ago. And here they come, the Maize and Blue of Michigan, the winningest team in the history of Big Ten football. 27 Big Ten championships down through the years to Ohio State's 20. You just heard Ricky Leach. There's Leach. There they are. Pick. You name them, they're all down there. Donahue, Downing, Bartling, Powers, Marsh, Clayton, Davis, Huckabee, that'll be the starting backfield. White, Ken, Donahue, Downing, Bartling, Powers, and Marsh across the front. Oh, brother, I can't wait to get into this play-by-play. This is going to be some kind of a football game. Ohio State across the way. As far as the toss of the coin, we aren't sure yet who won the toss of the coin. Everybody was so interested in the confrontation down in the field. But while they're talking things over and placing the ball for the kickoff, suppose we pause 10 seconds for station identification over this, the very Maize and Blue and Scarlet and Gray football network. This is a strange thing. We have 7 men in the booth. All of us were so fascinated with that confrontation underneath that Go Blue that we never watched who won the toss of the coin. We picked up the communication phone to the headquarters here to Will Perry. Will Perry and everyone in the press box was equally hypnotized by that confrontation. So nobody knows who won the toss of the coin. I do know that Michigan will kick off. Our very fine spotter for the opponents, Jimmy Janacek, indicates that Ohio State will receive and Michigan will kick off. So in a matter of seconds, we will have Sebron, Bell, Meter, Hicks, and I'm not sure yet whether it's going to be Wilner or LeBun. And then on the other side of LeBun or Wilner, of course, will be Jolly, the safety man. He'll be flanked by Owens, Howard, Richardson, Pickens, and Harden. Those 11 men kicking for Michigan right now will be number 1, Greg Wilner. So Wilner will kick off. And as we said a moment ago, this is the confrontation we've all been waiting for. Michigan versus Ohio State. The Rose Bowl sitting on that Canham's carpet right now. The Rose Bowl bid for January 1st. Michigan wanting to get back to the scene of the crime of January 1st of 77 when Southern California defeated them 14-6. But that's in the history book. Right now, Michigan is set to kick off. Ohio State has 3 men deep, Springs, Logan, and Griffin. And Ohio, naturally, away from home, are wearing the away from home jerseys, white. They have the scarlet numerals, the scarlet and gray helmets, the scarlet and gray pants, and the white socks. And down there is Greg Wilner and 10 other Wolverines, 106,000 fans along with you and me, and we're all set for the opening kickoff of the 1977 Ohio State-Michigan bloodletting end over hand, a poor kick, a wobbly hits at the 12, taken by Griffin at the 15 to the 20. He's hit at the 23, a beautiful tackle down there at the 23-yard line, made by Gene Bell, number 42, the East Liverpool, Ohio lad. He's a sophomore, moved down under Greg Wilner's opening kickoff, taken by Griffin at the Buckeye 8. He was back out to the Ohio State 23-yard line where Bell dropped him. Check in Michigan's defense: Tedesco, Greer, Graves, Kites, and Anderson. Meter and Simpkins backing it up. Ohio State has Springs, Logan, and Jones in the backfield. Rodney Gerald, one of the fine quarterbacks in the country. Lightning Rod Gerald, they call him. It's the I formation, 2 tight ends and a balanced line. Wide to the left is Herman Jones. It'll be Springs deep and Logan close and Gerald under center, 1st and 10 to 23. Logan keeps the ball. He's over to the 30, the 35. First down on the first play of the ball game goes to the Scarlet and Gray Legions of old Dr. Strange Hayes as Gerald on the option play. Faked the handoff to Logan up the center. Then he faked the pitch off to Springs. He optioned Michigan's corner linebacker, who happened to be the defensive left end. And the defensive left end thought he was going to pitch it, went in. Gerald kept it, skidded around the left side and down to the Buckeye 35-yard line. It Springs deep and Logan close, I formation. There is Logan, hit right there at the 37-yard line. Logan on the second play of the ball game. After Ohio picked up the first down of the contest from their own 23 to the Buckeye 35-yard line, Ohio State has now second down. 7 yards to go for their second first down of the ball game. Ohio State won the toss of the coin. Michigan had to kick off. First toss of the coin that Michigan has lost this year. Wide to the right is Jones. It Springs deep and Logan close. Under center is Rod Gerald with 2 tight ends and a balanced line. Gerald keeps it, hits a fullback. Logan is dropped right there. Beautiful defensive work. It's Dwight Hicks coming in from his wolf spot. He's the wolf man, the strong safety, playing to the outside of the field. He diagnosed the play, shot 2 would-be blockers, and made his 65th tackle of 1977. Michigan has Meter and Hicks at the linebacking spot. Jolly and Howard at the defensive halfbacks. It's Pickens at safety with Dwight Hicks at the wolf spot. And Ohio State has Jones, Robinson, Fritz, Vogler at center, Lang, Ward, and Jaco. It's Campbell in at fullback. Now instead of Logan, it's Springs deep. Wide to the left is Jones. Wide to the right is Harrell. It's 3rd and 8. It's a passing situation. A drop-back pass by Rod Gerald. Cocks his arm, throws down. He gets away. There's a flag on the play. Gerald to the 40, the 45. He picks up a first down, but there's a flag on the play. And who is it against? A broken field play. A broken play. That should have been a pass. That's what Rod Gerald is most adept at, the broken plays. You remember it was a broken play a year ago by Ricky Leach on the Ohio State 46-yard line that turned the whole game around. When on a broken play, the whole Michigan team went to the left. Ricky Leach found no one to hand off to, ran to the right, and picked up a first down to the Buckeye 26. That's just what happened here on a 3rd down and 8. Rod Gerald, all the receivers were covered. A broken play, picked up a first down. The penalty was against Michigan, refused by the Buckeye. It's Logan and Springs at the tandem of the eye. Logan close and Springs deep and Rod Gerald. Gerald heads off to Logan. He's hit at the Michigan 47-yard line. Remember, this drive started at the Buckeye 35 after the opening kickoff. Ohio State has now moved into Michigan territory for the first time this afternoon. The tackle was made by Jerry Meter, his 92nd tackle of the year, his first of the afternoon. Boy, listen to the crowd here. Defense, defense. Michigan has yielded fewer points in the nation over the last 9 seasons than any other team from coast to coast. And now this Ohio State offense is testing McCartney's monsters rather severely right now. Camel close and Springs deep, and there it is, Springs with the ball. He's over the 45, breaks a tackle at the 42, hit at the 40 and drop. Ohio State has 3 consecutive first downs on the ground, and we have played exactly 2.5 minutes in the ball game. It's been all Ohio State. They took the opening kickoff. Griffin took it on the Buckeye 8, brought it out to the Ohio State 23. On the first play, they picked up a first down to the Buckeye 35, and they have now moved majestically down Canham's carpet to the Michigan 41-yard line. It's 1st and 10 for the Scarlet and Gray. Up over the ball is Vogler. 2 wide outs, Jones and Harrell. It springs deep and Camo close. Gerald under center looks at a 5-2-4 defense on a long count from center. Gerald gives to the full, fakes the fullback, pitches off to Springs. Springs is hit at the 40. Beautiful defensive play out there by the 2 wideouts for Michigan. It was Gerald that time, faking and going with his fullback Camel, and then taking it out and keeping it another 2 steps, and then pitching off to Springs, diagnosing it tremendously well on the defensive cornerback spot was Dom Tedesco, making his first tackle of the afternoon, his 57th of the 1977 season. No score from Ann Arbor, Michigan. 11 minutes and 37 seconds remaining in this, the 74th meeting between Michigan and Ohio State. 2 wideouts this time. Jones, wide out. Harold at the slot. It'll be Springs deep and Camel close and Rod Gerald under center. Gerald back for his first pass. Pops his arm over the middle. It's caught at the Michigan 35, 30, 29-yard line. It's caught in there by Ron Springs. Ron Springs has just got his first pass of the afternoon and his 7th of 1977 as Rod Gerald has just completed his 48th pass of the year, the first of the afternoon. Coming into the game, Gerald, the quarterback, was 47 out of 81 for 769 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. A very fine quarterback, Gerald, coming into this ball game. He carried the ball 393 times. Check, it's 94 times for 343 yards, but that makes no difference. 1st and 10 at the 29. There's a hand at the spring. Upended at the Michigan 26-yard line. Ohio State moving out here with a very simple type offense. They have 2 tight ends, a balanced line, 1 wide out, sometimes 2 wide out. They have operated from nothing but the I formation. They will operate with a balanced line, 2 tight ends, and they'll run about 87% of the time, and that's just what they've done here this afternoon, because in this drive that started on the Ohio State 23-yard line, they have only passed once. That was a Gerald to Springs pass for a first down to the Michigan 29. Now it's 2nd and 7 at the Wolverine 26-yard line. 2 wide outs, Camel along with Jones. There is Gerald with the ball. He gives it to the fullback. He's hit right there at the 22-yard line. Paul Campbell, the fullback, who has just carried the ball for the 90th time in the 77 season. Coming into the game, Campbell had carried the ball 89 times for 426 yards. That's an average of 4.5 yards per carry, and he has scored 5 touchdowns. So Ohio State relentlessly driving down this Maud sod from their own 23-yard line all the way down to the Michigan 23-yard line. No score as yet. 3rd and 5 on the Michigan 23. 2 wide outs, Jones and Ward. There's a rollout by Gerald. He's going to run with the ball. He's over the 23, the 20. He slips at the 19-yard line. So on 3rd down and 5, Gerald moves it about 2.5 yards to just inside the 20-yard line. And here is the first decision to be made by either coach, which could lead possibly to a score or not a score. In fact, it's so close to a first down, they're giving the officials a nod, and the chain gang moving in from the far eastern sideline. The head linesman over there, Wayne Meesey, is bringing in the chain, and Ohio State may or may not have picked up their 5th first down of the ball game. It is Ohio State, 1st and 10 on the Michigan 18-yard line. Boy, these Buckeyes look just as they did in 1969. On the first punt of the game, Ohio State Zelina took it on the Buckeye 40. He was knocked out of bounds at the Michigan 16-yard line. 5 plays later, Ohio led 6-0, and it looked like all Ohio State. But you remember what happened in the following 57 minutes. Michigan came back, dominated the game, and won 24-12. That was 9 years ago. This is 1977. No score from Ann Arbor. Ohio State has moved from their own 23 to the Michigan 18-yard line. I formation, Springs deep, and Campbell close. There is Campbell not have the ball. Gerald keeps it up over the 15 down to the 12-yard line. This Ron Gerald is quick. Boy, is he a quick lad. He's very, very agile. He reminds me, Don, of Cornelius Green, the great quarterback of the Buckeyes of 2 years ago.
Certainly does, Bob. And the couple of keys has just been Gerald himself. The pass play, in which was kind of a broken type thing, and then he was able to break it, and again, just to make that first down before this play right here. So he's been the difference, Bob.
Well, for you fans who may have just tuned in, no score from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ohio State moving toward the flagpole end of the field. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. It's 2nd and 4 at the Michigan 12-yard line. Jones wide out to the right. Springs deep. There is Gerald with the ball. Gerald pitches off to Springs. He's hit right there at the 11-yard line. On 2nd and 4, Springs is hit. He's picked up after he's hit by Dwight Hicks. He pulls Springs to his feet. A gentlemanly gesture. Boy, for a Michigan-Ohio State confrontation, how about that? Dwight Hicks, the co-captain on defense, picks him up. Donald?
I think what you'll find in this contest, Bob, we talk about the confrontation, it's more the crowd. I think the players themselves play as hard as you can play. There's no rule in the book saying you can't block and tackle as hard as you want, and that's the type of contest it'll be.
Okay, 3rd and 3 on the Michigan 11-yard line. 8 minutes remaining in the first period. It's the I formation. Gerald gives to the fullback. He's dropped right there in the track. A beautiful submarine tackle by Dale Kites. Dale Kites, who hauls Woody Hayes' trash in the summer, just gave his trash right back to old Dr. Strange Hayes. Kites submarine, grab legs. One of them was the ball carrier. It was the fullback Campbell, and so it'll bring up 4th down and 4. And coming in to try a field goal is Vlad Onikievsky. He is 5 out of 11 on field goals. He is 44 out of 44 on extra points. Kneeling is Harrell at the Michigan 18-yard line, a 28-yard attempt. Onikievsky kicks end over end, and it is good. Ohio State moves 77 yards in 15 plays from the opening kickoff. They lead 3-0 over this, the Michigan slightly scarlet and gray football network. Bob Ufer and Don Lund all set to bring you the final 37 minutes of this, the Michigan-Ohio State football game of 1977. The Buckeyes have just moved 77 yards in 15 plays. And then the lad who is ready to kick off right now, Vladi Onikievsky, booted a 28-yard field goal. And wait a minute, they're making a change here. It looks like Tom Orris. And here is a story. Tom Orris, the freshman from Fairport Harbor. He is only a freshman. His first appearance in a game was a week ago against Indiana when he punted the ball 43 yards. He's only punted once, and he's in there to kick off for Ohio State. And this is a lot of pressure on that freshman. He's 6'1", 195 pounds. He comes from Fairport Harbor, Ohio. And he's talking to the referee right now, Bob Fallon, and I would hazard a guess that that youngster, who just 3 short months ago was a high school lad, his heart must be pounding scarlet and gray at the moment. But he's back to kick off for the first time in his collegiate career in front of the largest crowd in the history of intercollegiate football, 106,024 fans along with you and me, and here he comes. Honest approaches, it's end over end, and it is taken down there by Clayton at the 9, Clayton to the 10, 15, Clayton at the 20, cuts into 22 and dropped by a vicious Ohio State tackle made in there by Cato and Ross, 2 men teaming up to bring down Ralph Clayton on that kickoff return. Clayton had brought back, coming into this ball game, 5 kickoff returns, an average 20 yards per return. His longest was 24 yards. That time he brought it back from around the 8 to the Michigan 22-yard line. So for the first time this afternoon, with half of the first quarter into the history book and Ohio leading 3-0, the Wolverines break out. Ricky Leach at quarterback, Huckabee deep and Davis close. The I formation, Clayton at the slot on the left side. Leach taking plenty of time, gives off to Davis. He's hit right there at the 24-yard line, picks up 2 yards on the play. And so Michigan's offensive line from right end to left, White, Ken, Donahue, Downing, Zara, Giesler, and Smirgy, all in there for the maize and blue. Ricky Leach at quarterback, Clayton at the right half, Harlan Huckabee, hamstring and all. Huckabee is playing hurt this afternoon. That hamstring has not healed. He did not play at all last week against Purdue. He did not play in the Wisconsin game 2 weeks ago. Okay, it's the I formation. Huckabee deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center. Rick White wide to the left with two tight ends. There's a handoff to Huckabee. He's hit right there at the 25-yard line. Moving in is Aaron Brown. Ohio State will utilize the same type of defense that Michigan does. They'll use a 5-man front, 2 linebackers, and then your umbrella or your 4-men back. The only difference is Ohio State will not angle quite as much as Michigan does. The Ohio State front 5 will come right at you, especially if the middle guard, who is our number 4 tackler, Aaron Brown, he's had 84 tackles coming into the ballgame, number 55. If he's right up nose guard to nose guard, and he is right now with Downing, they'll come right across. So it is Huckabee moving up to the slot on the left side. 1 man back, that's Davis, blocking for Leach, back for a pass. Leach throws downfield, and it's caught at the No, sir, he dropped it at the 41-yard line. It was Ralph Clayton. The pass was thrown behind him. Ricky Leach, coming into the ball game, had thrown the ball 138 times, completed 73 for 1,054 yards. Leach is the leading passer in the history of Michigan football. Do you realize this youngster from Southwestern High School in Flint has passed for 2,707 yards in his career so far? Johnny Anderson is in to punt on 4th down. He's punted the ball 46 times and averaged about 40.5 yards per punt. The line of scrimmage of Michigan 24. Anderson on the Wolverine 11. It's a long count. A nice snap by Lilja. There it is, almost blocked. End over end, not too far. A fair catch at the 40-yard line. A fair catch down there by Guess. And it is 1st and 10 for the Scarlet and Gray. And the last time Ohio State had the ball, after the opening kickoff, they went 77 yards in 15 plays. And then Onikiewski kicked a 28-yard field goal, and that's been the statistical picture so far. Ohio State with 5 first downs and a field goal. Michigan with zilch in first downs. The Wolverines have thrown 1 pass, incomplete. Ohio's thrown 1 pass, complete on that touchdown drive of 77 yards. So it was a 35-yard, a beautiful afternoon here at Ann Arbor, and we're going to pause for a word over this, the very maize and blue Michigan Football Network. 1st and 10 for the Buckeyes on their own 39-yard line. Gerald goes to the right. He fakes to the fullback. He keeps the ball, and he runs over the 40, the 44, the 45. Running out of bounds right in Woody Hayes' lap along that eastern sideline at the Ohio State 45. Call it the 46-yard line. Boy, this Rod Gerald is some kind of a quarterback. Quick as a... He's really almost like a snake in there, in and out of the hands. He runs that option well. You know, Ohio State a year ago utilized 1 phase of the option. There are 2 phases. Briefly and basically, the first phase is the quarterback goes down. He always will fake or give to the fullback. But then on phase 1, he'll fake the defensive end. On phase 2, he goes by and fakes the defensive cornerback. And they have utilized both options this year. Michigan's always utilized both. There it is, 2nd and 4 back for a pass. It's over the center. It's complete to Springs at the midfield stripe. He's down to the Michigan 27-yard line. 2 passes by Gerald, 2 completions to Springs. That time Gerald was hit, and he's being helped up by a teammate. And this young man from down in Texas, he's from Dallas, that young man being Rod Gerald. He's not a big youngster, 6'1", 170 pounds, number 8, a very fine quarterback with fine credentials coming into the game, 47 completions out of 81. He carried the ball 94 times. Every time he's carried the ball this year, he's averaged 4 yards per carry. He sets his team now, 1st and 10 on the Michigan 48-yard line. The I formation, hands off to his fullback, Logan. He's hitting. Really upended right there at the line of scrimmage, the Michigan 47-yard line. The ball resting about 24 yards in from the far eastern sideline. For those of you who may have just tuned in, Ohio State won the toss of the coin. They elected to receive. Griffin brought it back from the Buckeye 9 to the Buckeye 23. They moved 77 yards. Onikiewski kicked a 28-yard field goal. Michigan took the following kickoff, failed to pick up a first down, punted to Ohio, and here the Buckeyes are rolling down on their second drive. They have the ball, 2nd and 9 on the Michigan 46-yard line. 2 wideouts to the right, Jones wideout, Harold at the slot. It Springs deep and Logan close. Gerald under center at quarterback. Gerald back for a pass. Cocks his arm on his own 45-yard line. He's scrambling. He may eat it back there. He's way back there. He throws it out here to Springs. He catches it. He's at the midfield stripe. He's tackled right there at the Michigan 47-yard line. Beautiful running in there. And I'll tell you, Donald, that lad, Rod Gerald, is as squirmy a quarterback as I've ever seen.
Well, I guess he might mind you a little bit, only a little quicker than a fellow that plays for Minnesota, Fran Tarkington. He's just all over the place, scramble, picked out the back and threw to him and got back to the line of scrimmage where he'd have been about a 10 or 20-yard loss.
And he's carried the ball 5 times and gained 39 yards via our human computer, Jack Lane. This Ohio State team is to be reckoned with, I'll tell you. This is what they did in '69. They dominated the first half of the first quarter and led 6-0. Now they lead 3-0 with 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the first quarter. 3rd and 10 on the Michigan 47-yard line. Springs deep. Campbell close. Rod Gerald with the ball. He's first down to the Michigan 36-yard line. Boy, this guy Gerald, Michigan has got to stop Gerald if they're going to win this ball game or stay in this ball game. The Buckeyes lead 3-0. It has been entirely a Buckeye first quarter so far. The first 12 minutes of the ball game, they have picked up 7 first downs. They have thrown 3 passes, and they've completed all 3 of them. Michigan has yet to put a statistic on the board except that they've been making a lot of tackles. And in the long run, when your team defensively has to stay out on the field a long time, that wears down the defensive effectiveness of any football team. And Michigan is not a big team as defenses go. Right now, Michigan's defensive line is averaging 225 pounds. Ohio's offensive line goes at 243. There's Gerald rolling out, and he's going to keep the ball. He's over the 30, the 28, the 25, the 24-yard line. Rod Gerald again on the option play. He is faking beautifully on the option. That was that second phase we talked about, where that time he faked the cornerback. The end was already committed. The fullback didn't take the ball through. And when I said end, I meant the defensive end. And Gerald just got to the corner man. He head faked as though he was going to pitch deep to Springs. The cornerback went up for Springs, and Gerald had free running room down to the Michigan 24-yard line. 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the first period. Ohio State 3, Michigan zip. Wide to the right is Harold. It's Logan deep and Campbell close in the I formation. Rod Gerald under center. He ends off to the fullback Campbell. He's hit at the 20-yard line, but after he picks up 3.5 yards. The Buckeyes are very relentless in their ball carrying. Remember, as Bo told us, ironically enough, he said that Ohio had a lot of turnovers, so had Michigan. I don't think this will ever happen again, but after 10 games, Ohio and Michigan both have 24 turnovers. They both have lost 16 times on fumbles, and they have both had 8 intercepted passes over their first 10 games. Identical turnovers, no turnovers here so far. 2 tight ends in a balanced line, 2nd and 6 on the 20-yard line. Gerald has the ball again. He pitches off this time to Logan around the left side. 15 down to the 11-yard line and knocked out of bounds, Jeff Logan. Now, Logan and Springs will alternate. Remember, Logan was a very fine back a year ago. He was hurt earlier this year. He and Springs will alternate between the fullback and the tailback, much the same as Rob Lytle did a year ago with Lytle, Huckabee, and Davis. Now they have Springs along with Logan, and they're alternating back and forth at that fullback-tailback spot. That time it was Jeff Logan, the tailback, took the pitch out from Gerald. Gerald that time committed both Michigan's defensive end and the defensive cornerback, and then he saw he was taken, so he pitched out to Logan. He picked up yards. 1st and 10 for Ohio State. Gerald with the ball. There's Gerald again with the ball. He's at the 10. He's hit at the 9, and he's dropped right there at the 9-yard line. And I mean he's hit and dropped. This lad can take a hit, Donald.
He certainly can, Bob. He's just been an amazing guy in this first 14 minutes of this first half, first quarter. Certainly putting on a real exhibition, and he's the guy that we got to stop.
Yes, sir, this is the Ring Around the Rosie Bowl game. I'll tell you, the team that wins today, it's Roses on January 1st, and I guess it'll be visions of sugar plums in the eyes of the losers here this afternoon. But that's all in the future. Right now it's Ohio State 3, Michigan nothing. The Buckeyes threat. 2nd and 7 on the Michigan 8-yard line. 2 wide outs. Harold close. Jones wide. It Springs deep and Logan close. Gerald under center. Gerald's rollout pass. He's going to be hit back there, and he's getting away. Now he's going to be hit, and he's going to eat the ball right there at the 19-yard line. Beautiful defensive work. The first time that Michigan man had succeeded in stopping and sacking Gerald, the quarterback, and it couldn't come at a more opportune time for the Maize and Blue. Ohio State calls timeout as the ball is put after that sack by Dale Kite. His 52nd tackle. He made one earlier, and now I'm going to tell you what Dale Kite's found in Woody Hayes' trash. We couldn't tell you all season long because we didn't want Woody to use it psychologically against Michigan here this afternoon. The last pickup of Woody Hayes' trash by Dale Kite early in August of this last summer, he found a complete playbook of Ohio State plays. And he mimeographed that, and every Michigan player has had a complete Ohio State playbook all season long. They weren't looking at it too much until the last 5 days. But Dale Kite, moving in there like a CIA agent, he just went through the trash, and there it was by mistake. One of those ironic twists of fate, and that time Kite was in there and made the sack on Woody Hayes' elusive quarterback, and the man who was hurt on that play was Rod Gerald. Now, Rod Gerald was taken out of the Oklahoma game in the first quarter with an injury. Ohio State still came back from a 20-point deficit, and outside of that onside kick, but that's the breaks of football. Ohio State right now would be number 1 in the nation. As it is, the Buckeyes are ranked 4th, just ahead of Michigan. As a matter of fact, the first 5 teams in the nation this afternoon, Texas is entertaining Baylor. The number 2 team, Oklahoma, is resting today. The number 3 team, Alabama, also has a day off. Ohio, number 4, is playing Michigan, number 5. Around the Big Ten, Michigan State's playing out at Iowa, Wisconsin at Minnesota, Purdue at Indiana, and Northwestern is entertaining Illinois. Those are the games you and I are interested in, but the big one we're all interested in, the eyes of the collegiate football world focused here in little old Ann Arbor town, is third down, 16 yards to go for the Buckeyes, 1 minute and 32 seconds remaining in the third quarter. And on third down conversions, Ohio State has converted 3 out of 4 so far, and here is the quarterback is in there. Rod Gerald was not hurt enough so that he isn't back in there directing the team. Gerald is out. Gerald is hit. There's a flag on the play. Evidently, it looks as though it's against Ohio because a Michigan man is clapping his hands. Tedesco over there is indicating that the Buckeyes did something. Illegal procedure. Maybe Rod Gerald was hit just enough. They let him go back in, but I feel that possibly they weren't sure of the signal on that, Don. Is that what you picked up?
Well, what happened, Bob, there was an illegal procedure, and anytime you can blow the whistle before and stop the play, that's what they do in the illegal procedure. So whatever stopped the play where Rod Gerald stopped was a whistle, stops play, and that's what happened.
So that moves the ball 5 yards further back from the Wolverine goal line because Ohio already leading 3-0. This is their second drive for a score, and they have it now. Third down and 21 yards to go for the first down. They moved 77 yards the first time they had the ball. This is the second time, and they've used up just about 1 quarter. The I formation springs deep, Campbell close. Rod Gerald has the ball, and he's going to be hit down there. He laterals off, it's fumbled, recovered by Ohio at the 25-yard line, and they lose 2 more yards on the play. A little bit befuddled, the Ohio State team. This is the first break or kink in the armor of the Buckeyes. After they move majestically 77 yards for a 28-yard field goal, they have been pushed back from the original point of scrimmage, which was the Michigan 11-yard line. Actually, on first down, they got it to the Michigan 3. And now, Onikiewski is back with Harold kneeling at the 32-yard line. It'll be a 42-yard attempt. It's spotted, it's kicked, it's end over end, and it is off to the right. No good. McCartney's Monsters were never finer as the complexion of the game has changed just slightly from scarlet and gray to maize and blue. And now, Nayland's Nifties and Hanlon's Hustlers had better hustle for a first down because there are only 46 seconds remaining in this first period. And Michigan has yet to have a statistic. The only one they have here in front of Jack Lane, our human computer, is 1 pass thrown, and it was incomplete. No first down. No penalties, no nothing, except a tremendous game of defense, as has been the hallmark of Schembechler's football for 9 straight years. The average score of every Michigan game for 100 games under Big Bo was Michigan 30, the opponent's 8. No other coach in the country has a record like that, and in those 100 games, Michigan has picked up 3,046 points, limiting the 100 opponents to 837. And you know, while they're taking time out down in the playing field, if Michigan wins this afternoon, the Wolverines will pick up their 200th Big Ten title in all sports. Michigan truly has the winningest tradition in the history of Big Ten athletics, the winningest tradition in the history of Big Ten football. Now, those 2 statements are not just simple emotional euphemisms. I have facts to back them up. In the broad spectrum of 11 sports participated down through the decades by Michigan, the Wolverines have picked up 200 championships in all sports. Illinois is second with 167. Indiana's third with 84. That means 7 schools in the Big Ten haven't picked up as many as 84, and yet Michigan has 199, and they're going after 200 today. That gives you some idea of the tremendous amount of athletic talent, coaching-wise and athletic-wise, that Michigan has had down through the year. Okay, Leach has Huckabee deep and Davis close. It's 1st and 10 on his own 20-yard line. Ricky Leach with a long conference center. Fakes it off. Ricky Leach pitches off to Huckabee. He's hit at the 20 and dropped right there at the 21-yard line. Michigan unable to manifest or generate any kind of offensive power here today. And you remember what old General Bo told you and I in the locker room before this ball game. To win, Michigan must have ball control. They must dominate Canham's carpet on the ground or in the air. No matter how they do it, they've got to have ball control, and they have had zilch as far as that's concerned here this afternoon. With 15 seconds remaining in the first quarter, The Wolverines break out, and they may or may not get this play underway. It's Leach under center, Huckabee deep, and Davis close. It is at the slot on the left side is Clayton. Ricky Leach with 4 seconds hands the ball off to Huckabee. He's hit right there at the 22-yard line. He's dropped in there by Cato, Byron Cato, his 67th tackle. And there it is, the gun sound. The first 15 minutes, all Ohio State, but they only have 3 points. Michigan zip over this, the Michigan Football Network. The Michigan-Ohio State confrontation in 1977, the first 15 minutes, typified when we say Ohio State had 15 plays in those 15 minutes on a sustained drive the first time they had the ball for 77 yards, and they scored on a 28-yard field goal. In the first 15 minutes, Ohio had the ball for 27 plays, 109 yards, 92 on the ground, and 17 on the passing arm of Rod Gerald, who threw this afternoon 3 passes so far, and he's completed all 3. Meanwhile, Michigan has had 6 plays, and they have picked up 5 yards. None on the passing arm of Ricky Leach. It's been all Ohio State so far, and the Wolverines could consider themselves fortunate that the scoreboards only read Ohio State 3, the Wolverines zip. Okay, up over the ball comes Walt Downing. The line follows, 2 tight ends and a ballot check. It's pro set. Wide to the right is Stevenson. Wide to the left is Clayton. Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach under center. 1st and 10 on the Michigan 23-yard line. 3rd and 8, rather. 3rd and 8 on this first play of the second quarter. It's caught at the 42. It's caught there by Clayton. He's up to the midfield stripe. And so Michigan, after they picked up only 5 yards in the first 15 minutes on the first play of the second quarter, they have moved the ball 27 yards on the first play of the second quarter, and the Wolverines now offensively may beginning to generate something as they trail in the ball game 3-0. Michigan makes a change here. Smergy comes into the ball game, and here comes Clayton out of the ball game. So that means Michigan now will have 2 tight ends in a balanced line. 1st and 10 on the 48-yard line of the Wolverines. Huckabee deep and Davis close. Wide to the left is Stevenson. It is Ricky Leach looking at almost a 7-man line. He gives to the fullback Davis, who picks up about 3 yards to the Buckeye 49-yard line. And for the first time in the ball game, the Wolverines have the ball in Ohio State territory. Michigan on that fine pass thrown by Ricky Leach right into the arms of Ralph Clayton. That happened to be his 18th reception, 19th reception of the 77 season. Coming into the game, he caught 18 passes for 368 yards, and his longest pass, of course, was the pass that he caught for 41 yards in the touchdown 2 weeks ago. Huckabee deep and Davis close. There goes Rick White in motion, a cross formation of 2 tight ends. There's a handoff to Huckabee. He's hit at the 45 and gets just over the 45-yard line on 2nd and 7. It brings up 3rd down now and just about 3.5 yards to go as Michigan is going after their second first down of the ball game. This is still anybody's football game, because how many times have we seen one team dominate the first quarter, then come back? In 73 was a perfect example. Ohio State didn't get a first down in 1973. It was all Michigan in the first quarter in 73. Then Ohio come back in the second quarter, had 7 first downs, a touchdown, a field goal, and led 10-0 at the half. Michigan came back in the second half with 10 big ones. That game ended in a Mexican standoff, 10-10. Michigan, 3rd and 3 on the Buckeye 45-yard line. Huckabee deep and Davis close. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Ricky Leach looks at an almost 7-man front. Hands off to Huckabee. He's down over the 41. It is a first down for Huck as Tom Kuzno made the tackle in there at the 42. Remember, the series started at the Michigan 48-yard line, and they're putting the ball, now where are they putting it? Between the 41 and the 42. The crowd didn't like the official spotting of the ball there. And, of course, Walt Downing is going to check. And this is a very vital measurement because football is a game of emotions. How many times have you heard this old reporter say that? And emotionally, Michigan has a little something going for him. There it is! A critical first down for Michigan. And listen to the response of over 106,000 fans. You know, we said a moment ago Dale Kites found the playbook. Actually, that isn't as meaningful as some of you folks might believe. It's sort of a joke because really Michigan has all the films, Ohio has all the films of Michigan, and anybody could make a playbook up on either team just looking at the film. But it is sort of a humorous incident. Call it another one of those Uferisms. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. 1st and 10 for the Maize and Blue in the Buckeye 43-yard line. Huckabee deep and Davis close. Huck takes up over the 40 and gets to the 38-yard line. Hey, Don, do you notice how Huckabee is squeezing that ball? Bo says you got to have leverage at both ends of the football in order to prevent a fumble. Your hand on one end and the other tucked up underneath your armpit. And boy, Huckabee, just as soon as he's going to be hit, he gets the other hand over. He is not going to fumble if he can help it, right?
I would say so, Bob. That's a good analysis right there. Excellent.
Okay, Ohio digging in with that five-man front. They're angling a little bit, we noticed. They have the nose guard, Brown, there. The two linebackers looking at Ricky Leach, 2nd and 6 on the Buckeye 38-yard line. Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach under center, rolling out to the right, fakes to Davis, pitches off to Huck, and he goes out of bounds in Schembechler's lap at the 40, call it the 38-yard line. He didn't pick up much on that play. So it brings up, right now, it will be 3rd down and still about 6 to go. A critical 3rd down situation for Ricky Leach. He has converted 2 out of 3, both of them here in the second period. After Michigan picked up only 5 yards in the first 15 minutes to Ohio State's 109, the Buckeyes lead 3-0. Ohio State's front 5, Dantzler, Doolin, Brown, Cato, and Ross. Digging in with a defensive line averaging 235 pounds. Michigan's average lineman up front right now, 242. The Wolverines have a 7-pound per man advantage. Ricky Leach back on 3rd and 6. Over the center, caught at the 30 and dropped right there. It was Doug Marsh. Doug Marsh, the very fine sophomore from Akron, Ohio, and does he love to catch him against Ohio State, the lad who was born and raised down there in Akron, the river city of the Buckeye State. He has just caught his first pass of the afternoon, his 5th on the 1977 season, and Michigan has all-important first down number 3. Donald?
Leach did a great job there, Bob, because he was rushed and had to release the ball quickly. So it was a great play by Leach and a great catch by Marsh.
Okay, here comes Walt Downing, co-captain on offense, over the ball. 1st and 10 for the Maize and Blue. 11 minutes remaining in the first half. Wide to the right is Stevenson. Wide to the left is Clayton. Huckabee deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center looks at a tight 5-2-4 defense, and he rolls out to the short side. Pitches off to Huck. Huck's hit right there and knocked out of bounds at the 30-yard line. The Wolverines picked up absolutely nothing on that particular play. The last time they used that play, they came back. They moved to the short sideline. That was very effective against Texas A&M. We remember that so well. Michigan has a tendency to go when they're at the hash line toward the sideline because Ohio State plays their wolf man, Joe Allegro, to cover the wide side, just like Michigan does. So if a team can take advantage of that, they have that one-man advantage going to the weak side. And Michigan tried to pick that up, but it was to no avail because coming across and making the tackle was Kuzno along with Dantzler. So here it is, 2nd and 10 on the Buckeye 30-yard line. Huckabee deep and Davis close. Clayton at the slot tight on the left side. Leach, delayed handout to Huckabee, and he's upended right there at the 30-yard line. Fell forward to possibly the 29. Caught him around the ankles. He's dropped right there just over the 30-yard line. And they moved the ball midway between the sideline stripes now. For you fans who have been here, picture it, going toward the flagpole end of the field. The same end of the field that Ohio State converted on their 28-yard field goal after their opening scoring drive of 77 yards and 15 plays. So the ball rests now midway between the sideline stripes. The Buckeyes lead 3-0. Wide to the left goes Stevenson. Tight on the left side at the slot is Clayton. Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach looks at a 5-2-4. Leach is back, fakes at the Huck, back on the 38. Throws it over there. He can't hold it at the 25-yard line. Ralph Clayton caught a bullet. Ricky Leach looked like he was trying to throw out a man who was going from 1st to 3rd on a single. Leach is good at that, playing right field, but he's now the quarterback on the Michigan football team. You know, this lad Leach is a fantastic. Every time that he takes the ball from center, he continues setting career records in Michigan football. He's already gained more yardage passing and running than any other player in Michigan history. Going into the game in 33 ball games, he's picked up 4,244 yards. Greg Wilner, who on field goals is ready to convert one from the 37-yard line, is way short. No good. So, in field goals this afternoon, Ohio attempting two, converting one from 28-yard line. It was good, and Michigan trying one from the 38-yard line. It was no good, and so we start all over again about midway through this second period, actually a little more than midway, in that we have 10 minutes left in the first half with Ohio State leading 3-0. And so far, Don, you'd have to say that the nod offensively certainly is Buckeye flavored, while the nod defensively has to be Michigan.
It certainly is, Bob. And again, you've got to contain Gerald. He's been the key guy. He runs that option, and he's just got great speed, great quickness, great judgment. The key is to stopping him. Even when we've had him trapped, he's maneuvered around back there and scrambled and still made yardage.
Okay, the score for you fans who may have just tuned in on this beautiful overcast November afternoon. It couldn't be better weather-wise. The sun was out all morning. That might have hurt the ball players here in passing situations if it stayed out, but it didn't. The clouds now overcast. The field's dry as a bone, fast as lightning. The temperature a perfect 45 degrees and going up. No wind to speak of. Ideal weather conditions. We've been doing Michigan football, as we said, since 1945. I can't remember a better day weather-wise for an Ohio State game than we have here on November 19th of 1977. The Buckeyes have the ball. They ask to have it moved over away from midway between the sideline stripes. Evidently, the quarterback feels that he can set up plays to the short sideline and to the wide sideline just a little bit better if he has the ball about 3 yards outside of the hash line, which is 18 yards out from either sideline. So with 10 minutes and 55 seconds remaining in the first half, Ohio State, moving 77 yards the first time they had the ball, converted a field goal, which was good for 28 yards, and they lead 3-0. Gerald's back for pass on his own 13th throw. Incomplete. He dropped it at the 31-yard line. Trapping it down there was Hunter, number 89, trying to trap the ball at the Michigan or at the Ohio State 28-yard line. So the Buckeyes, after flourishing offensively here in the first 15 minutes, seem to be bogged down for a moment. It's like sort of a big heavyweight fight where you see the two men kind of feeling each other out. Neither team has really exploited the other with anything other than what they've expected from each other. Ohio State passing has been quite good here. That was the first incomplete pass. He's 3 out of 4, he being Gerald. This time he gives to the fullback, who's Jeff Logan, and he's hit at the 24-yard line. Logan trying to sift through the left side behind Fritz and Robinson. Couldn't pick up blocks in there. Both of them real fine on that side. You know, they're two of the finest tackles in the nation are Ward, Chris Ward. He was an All-American last year, unanimous All-American. And he lettered in track as a shot putter. He's a quiet lad, this big Chris Ward, 275 pounds, 6'4", number 19. A right tackle of Ohio State. His counterpart, Joe Robinson, 260 pounds. They're set along with the Ohio team. 3rd and 6, Gerald keeps. Gerald can't find an opening. And it is fumbled in there, and they recover. He's right there at the 21-yard line. Boy, Gerald was hesitating there, and he who hesitates is lost. Just like a banana, when it leaves the pack, it gets skinned. And that's what Gerald did. He left the pack, and McCartney's Monsters rose up again and smite the mighty giant from down there in Ohio as the Buckeyes now are forced to punt here for the first time this afternoon. And once again, that freshman, it's Tom Orris, number 19. He punted one 72 yards in high school a year ago. This is his second punt of his career at Ohio State. End over end is not bad. Caught on the 45-yard line by Hicks to the midfield stripe. To the Buckeye 45. Almost broke, but he couldn't quite. And it's dropped right there at the 44-yard line. Dwight Hicks, who has brought back punt returns for Michigan, 14 of them, an average 10 yards a return. Brought that 35-yard kick back just over his average. 11-yard return by Dwight Hicks. And Lundo, if he'd have managed to swivel hip his way out of that one, he could have been long gone 44
Bob, it was
yards.
a great effort by his, and if he just could have kept his balance, it was daylight because the blocking was set up. But it was a great effort by Hicks.
The first 15 minutes was all Ohio State. So far here in the first 6 minutes of the second quarter, it's been Michigan dominating the offense. Boy, this Michigan-Ohio State game down through the years just been fantastic. The biggest Michigan win, that was way back before any of us were around. I think that was when the glacier went over this part of the country. Michigan, 98, Ohio State, zip. And the biggest Ohio win was back in the mid-30s. I believe it was 1935 when Ohio State shut out Michigan 38-0. Bo and Woody have had quite a confrontation. In the 8 games that they've played, Ohio State's won 4, Michigan's won 3, and then there was that tremendous tie here 4 years ago, 10-10 in 1973. In the 8 games, as a matter of fact, Bo's teams have run up 119 points to Ohio State's 90, so the average score of every Michigan game with Bo competing against Woody has been Michigan 15, Ohio 11. That, of course, means absolutely nothing. The facts are, even though Michigan outplayed Ohio State in every statistic, of 3 of the 4 Ohio wins, Ohio got the one that counts, the bottom line. That was the final score. 1st and 10 for the Maize and Blue on the Ohio State 45-yard line. There goes Rick White across formation. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Ricky Leach gives it off to the fullback Davis. He's hit right there at the 42-yard line. That's the bread and butter play and the bread and butter ball player for Michigan, because coming into this Ohio State game, Russell Davis, in 2.5 years of competition, has carried the ball 335 times for 1,733 yards. That's a 5-yard per carry average every time he's carried the ball since he started 2.5 years ago. Russell Davis is the leading scorer for Michigan right now. on this year's team with 48 points, and he's had 16 touchdowns in his career. He's right now close, and right behind him is Huckabee. 2nd and 8 on the Buckeye 42. This time Ricky Leach is out to the right. He can't elude those tacklers, and he's dropped for a loss on the 44-yard line. Ohio State's defensive tackle in there, Eddie Beeman, coming in and making his 37th tackle of 1977, his first of the afternoon. The Buckeyes' defensive front five right now, Danzler, Beeman, Brown, Cato, and Ross. They are up there, and they average about 235 pounds a man. Michigan's offensive front seven averaging 242 pounds per man. So Michigan has the advantage up in the trench right now of 7 pounds per man. They're only man back. This is a passing formation. 5 men go out. Ricky Leach goes back. Cocks his arm over the center. It's almost caught and almost intercepted. Davis couldn't hold it at the 41, and coming up for Ohio State, it was Griffin who couldn't quite hold the ball at the 38-yard line, and it would have been an interception for the Buckeyes. It could have been a completion for Michigan because Davis had the ball, couldn't quite hold it. In fairness to Davis, who coming into the game had caught 12 passes, it was thrown a little high. So Johnny Anderson, who has punted the ball once for 35 yards, standing on the Michigan 41-yard line. The line of scrimmage is the Buckeye 44. Over the ball is Lilia. Lilia snaps. Anderson takes it. Anderson punts. A beautiful high, lots of hang time. Coming down on the Ohio State 15, rolling to the 10. A Michigan roll to the Buckeye 9. 1st and 10 for the Buckeyes, deep in the shadow, if there were one, of their own goalpost. 1st and 10 for the Scarlet and Gray, a 36-yard kick, well below his average, which coming into the game was 41 yards a kick. The second leading punter in the Big Ten right now, Johnny Anderson, the very fine senior from Waukesha, Wisconsin. So check in for Ohio State, Rod Gerald. The score halfway through the second period was 7 minutes and 52 seconds remaining in the first half. Ohio State 3, Michigan 0. Rod Gerald is under center. It'll be Springs deep and Campbell close the I formation. Campbell has the ball, and he's hit right there at the line of scrimmage, getting absolutely nothing. Anderson, Kites, Graves, Greer, and Tedesco. Call it the whole front five. Actually, when Ohio State is on offense, the Buckeyes outweigh Michigan right now up there in that trench, 18 pounds per man advantage Ohio State has in that front trench, and that's where the ball games are won, out up front, believe me. And that's the difference in Ohio State this year from a year ago. They have a great offensive. So Michigan's defensive front five right now, Anderson, Kites, Graves, Greer, Tedesco, the linebacker Simpkins and Owens, Hicks at the wolf spot, Howard and Jolly at the halfbacks with Pickens at safety. Rod Gerald looks that over. Gerald has his team 3rd and 7 on his own 12-yard line. Springs deep, Campbell close, I formation. There's Gerald, and he's sacked back there at the 8-yard line. A beautiful sack by Kurt Greer. Greer had 9 sacks coming into the game. That was Greer's sack of 1977, and Michigan's defense again. But how long can they keep this up? They've been on the field at least, well, we've played 21 minutes, 20 minutes of the first half, and they've probably been on the field about 18 of those 24 minutes. 2 men back. Michigan should have excellent field position now. Tom Orris is deep in the end zone. This freshman will test his mettle right now. The 3rd kick of his career, the 2nd of the ball game. There is a beautiful, long, high spiral taken at the 47 of Michigan by Hicks. He's over the midfield stripe and gets back to the 46-yard line of Ohio State. Ohio State had plenty of hang time to get down underneath that freshman's punt. Boy, that lad is to be complimented. Just a freshman. And he only punted once before coming into this game. Dave McGee had punted 29 times in Ohio's first 10 games. In the last quarter, McGee was hurt in the Indiana game a week ago, so they took McGee out, put in this young lad, Tom Orris, and he punted once against the Hoosiers, and he got 43 yards. Today he has punted twice, the first one 35 yards, and that time 44-yard kick with a 7-yard return by Hicks. Once again, the old kicking game. Remember a year ago when Skladany was booting the ball for Ohio State, the #1 premier kicker, All-American kicker? He averaged, if my memory is right, a year ago, 53 yards a punt, 7 punts. But the key to that was Jimmy Smith averaged 18 yards per return on every one of those kicks, and that negated the length of all those punts by Gladany. Boy, this has been quite a ball game. You know, we expected the two teams to sort of come out here and throw caution to the wind. And for Woody and Bo to throw caution to the wind means they might pass more than once or twice a quarter. And when we look at the charts here, Michigan has thrown 5 times. They completed 2. Ohio State's only thrown 4 times and completed 3. So you'd have to say that they're playing it close to the vest, which is typical of Woody and Bo. And 2 of the great teams and certainly 2 of the finest coaches in the history of Big Ten football. Okay, Ricky Leach sets his team. Smith is deep in the tandem of the I formation. There's a handoff to Davis. He's up over the 41. Russell Smith was into the ball game. Ohio was leery on that first play, hesitated, thinking the new tailback might get the ball. Leach very adroitly handed off to Russell Davis, who picked up his average coming into the ball game of 5 yards a carry. In his previous 33 games here at Michigan, Russell Davis picked up an average of 5 yards a carry, and that's just what he got on that play. So it's Roosevelt Smith who, coming into the game, and carried the ball 46 times for 262 yards, averaging 5.5 yards per carry. The I formation, Smith deep and Davis close. Rick White across formation in motion. There's a handoff to Rosie Smith. He's down over the 37, and that's as far as he gets. Remember, the series started at the 46, so that we could see that he was just about a half yard shy of the 36, and it'll bring up a key third down situation. And so far, Ricky Leach is 3 out of 6. 3 out of 6 in third down conversions for the number 1 quarterback from Flint, Michigan, wearing the maize and blue here this afternoon. The lad who, every time he takes the ball, sets a record. He looks at Ohio's front 5 now. It's a typical Ohio 5-2-7. He has Smith deep and Davis close. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. 3rd and 1. There's a handoff to Rosie Smith over the 35, the 30, the 28-yard line. Roosevelt Smith picks up a critical first down. It is Michigan's 4th first down of the ball game. They have the ball on the Buckeye 28-yard line. Don, am I sensing wrong, but do you sense that Ohio State's defense isn't as aggressive or fired up as they were in the first period?
Well, it's hard to tell, Bob. I think sometimes, actually, an effect has been the television long commercials, and there seems to be a little lull there, so I have to agree with what you're thinking, Robert.
Okay, 2 tight ends in a balanced line. 1st and 10 on the Buckeye 29-yard line. Rick White across formation in motion. Smith deep, Davis close. Ricky Leach rolls out to the right. Pitches off to Smith, and he's hit at the 26, knocked out of bounds. Call it the 26, 27-yard line. Well, statistically, it's been all Ohio. The only statistic that you and I are interested in, however, is Ohio State 3, Michigan 0. The Buckeyes have 9 first downs. Michigan has 4 first downs. And in the second period, with 4 minutes remaining in the second period, Ohio State has yet to pick up a first down. In passes, Michigan has completed 2 out of 5, and Ohio has 3 out of 5. Ohio has had 2 fumbles, neither one of them recovered by the Wolverines, so there's been no turnovers. Wide to the left is Clayton. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. 2nd and 8 at the Buckeye 28-yard line. Ricky Leach fakes to Davis. Look for a receiver. Can't find a receiver. And Ricky Leach is looking. He's throwing him. Throw good down. Ricky Leach is going to eat the ball on the 30-yard line. Ricky Leach just couldn't pick up anything there on 2nd and 8. Boy, he had a lot of poise. He was trying to wave downfield. He was trying to wave Smirgy down deeper, but Smirgy was covered close by the linebacker, and then Clayton was down there, and he was trying to wave him toward the short sideline. And neither one of them could respond because they were both covered with a blanket of scarlet and gray. And Byron Cato moved in and made the tackle and the sack on Ricky Leach. Cato, coming into the game, had 5 sacks for the Buckeyes for 19 yards. That one was good for about 4 yards. So it's 3rd down and 11. 3rd and 11 with Smith deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach back for a pass. He has time. He has time. He throws downfield, and it's caught there at the 15, down to the 10. It's caught by Smith, and he's down to the 8-yard line. Beautifully thrown by Ricky Leach, and Michigan has moved into scoring territory here for the first time this afternoon. Ohio leads 3-0. Hang on to your kilohertz, as old JP would say. Not your kilocycles this afternoon, it's kilohertz. And boy, Ohio is hurting at the moment because Michigan has the ball at the Ohio State 8-yard line. Michigan trails in the ball game 3-0. 3 minutes and 9 seconds remaining. Up over the ball comes Walt Downing. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Wide to the right this time is Rick White. It's Smith deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center. Ricky Leach asks the crowd to settle down, and I'll tell you this. If you can't get your own crowd to settle down, boy, that's a sorry state of affairs. Ricky Leach looks at the referee and he says, Ricky, this is your crowd, baby. These are all here. These 106,000 fans are here to support you. Donald?
Down at that end, there's a lot of scarlet and gray, Bob. And another thing that I think Rick is involved in is the automatic situation. So he's got to have it so everybody can hear in case he automatics at the line.
All right, you are. Well, Ricky Leach now says settle down. The Buckeyes in that end are kicking up a storm. First and 8 at the Buckeye 8-yard line. Two tight ends in a balanced line. Smitty deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center at quarterback trailing 3-0. He hands off to Davis and he's hit at the 6-yard line. Michigan moving goalward bound here, trailing 3-0. 2 minutes and 34 seconds remaining in the first half. Plenty of time as the Buckeyes pick themselves up like a fighter coming up from the 9 count. They lead 3-0, they being Ohio State, but Michigan has the ball about 19 yards in from this, the western sideline. The Wolverines tried a field goal from the 38-yard line that was 20 yards short earlier in this second period. Over the ball is Walt Downing. Two tight ends in a balanced line. Wide to the right is Stevenson. Smitty deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center at the Buckeye 6-yard line, and he looks at a tight 5-2 defense. He hands off to Davis down to the 3-yard line, to the 2-yard line, and maybe to the 1-yard line. Russell Davis picking him up and laying him down, going in there like a bull with a bee in his ear. Oh, and he was dropped there just 1 shy yard of the Ohio State end zone. Michigan is at the lip of the cup right now. The cup of victory, tainted with roses. But don't get too excited, Ufer. We still have 31 minutes and 32 seconds remaining from here in the hole that Yost dug. Two tight ends in a balanced line. Two tight ends in a balanced line. Ohio State calls timeout. Wow. And we're going to call timeout for a word over this. The Barry Mason Blue Goalward Bound Football Network. 84 seconds remaining in the first half. The digital scoreboard show Michigan zip, Ohio State 3. But, and it's a big but right now, Michigan has the ball on the Buckeye 1-yard line. And the Wolverines, as they have so many times in their glorious 98-year history, are coming from behind the Buckeyes once again. Can they do it? We'll know in a matter of seconds. Up over the ball comes Walt Downing. Two tight ends in a balanced line. Ricky Leach under center at quarterback. Wide out to the right is White. It's Smitty deep and Davis close. Here comes White in motion across formation. Ricky Leach under center gives to Rosie Smith, and he's down. Roosevelt Smith, little Roosevelt Smith picks up touchdown number 4 of the 1977 season. His first of the afternoon. Roosevelt Smith moves into the end zone. The Cass Tech High School lad of 2 years ago comes through for the Maize and Blue. Ufer, you better settle down. You aren't going to have anything left for the second half. But who cares? The digital scoreboard shows Michigan 6, Ohio State 3. It'll be Greg Wilner now. He will be going after his first extra point of this ball game. He has made 38 out of 39, and if you hear the George Patton horn in the background, you'll know that Patton has entered Berlin. It's spotted, it's kicked, it's end over end. It is good. George Patton Schembechler has moved his troops down Canham's carpet, right in and out of the hands of Dr. Strange Hayes' laboratory men, all the way down through the Buckeye end zone, and Michigan now leads 7-3, and Michigan now has 45 touchdowns on the season, and we pause for a very short station ID over this, the Michigan leading 7-3 Football Network. Okay, Michigan just moved 46 yards in 9 big plays to the delight of the largest crowd in the 108-year history of man's inhumanity to man. 106,024 cotton-picking fans all witnessed that drive that put Michigan ahead 7-3. Greg Wilner, the lad who just picked the extra point, his 39th out of 40 on the season, is attempting the kickoff. It's end over end. It's taken by Springs at the 14. Springs of Ohio to the 20, the 25, the 27, the 30-yard line. Springs of Ohio, Springs loose underneath that kickoff by Greg Wilner. taking it in stride at the Buckeye 14, and he moves down to the Ohio State 31-yard line. 46 yards in 9 plays. Davis carried 3 times for 12 yards. Smith 4 times for 15 yards. And Smith also had a pass reception, the key play for 22 yards, and of course the touchdown from the 1-yard line by Rosie Smith. Rosie rings the bell. Ring around the Rosie Bowl with Rosie Smith putting Michigan in the lead for the Rose Bowl. There is Gerald handing off to the fullback, Jeff Logan. He's up over the 35, the 39-yard line. 71 seconds remaining in the first half, or 1 minute and 11 seconds to you. They move the ball in at the hash line. 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Woody Hayes right now isn't quite sure of everything. In the first 15 minutes, Ohio State had 9 first downs. Michigan had zip, and they had 3 points. In the second quarter, Michigan has had 5 first downs and 7 points. There it is, the I formation, the draw play to the fullback, Jeff Logan. He loses one tackler, another goes out of bounds, stops the clock. Very adroitly stepping out of bounds, that fine senior halfback, realizing that time is of the essence here. 41 seconds remaining in the first half. Instead of putting his head down, lowering the boom and picking up 2 or 3 more yards, he maybe Woody was there, standing there. Come on, Jeffy, let's stop the clock. You can only get 2 or 3 more yards, and we have to move 58 yards to go ahead in this ball game. Michigan leading in the ball game. Ohio State took their drive, 77 yards, 28-yard field goal. Michigan came back in the second period, 46 yards in 9 plays to go ahead 7-3. That's been it if you just tuned in. A drop-by pass by Ron Gerald. He's going to eat the ball, and he's hit. He loses. He's dropped back there at the 40-yard line. McCartney's Monsters are doing it to the Buckeyes right now after Nayland's Nifties in the backfield. And Hanlon's Huskies up front move the ball 46 yards to give Michigan a 7-3 lead. McCartney's Monsters are in there now, sacking the Ohio State quarterback back on the Buckeye 40-yard line. What a tremendous football game, Donald. I'm sure that you and Bob Foreman have a big halftime show lined up. Actually, what do you need in the way of guests with 2 of the greatest marching bands in the land, the fabulous Michigan marching band, the equally fabulous Ohio State band? I'm sure you and Foreman have a fine halftime show cooked up for our listeners across this network of stations. You know, when we look down on this field, we can't help but think of some of the great games and the great players that have played for Michigan that are now playing in professional football. And, of course, the 2 that just left a year ago that are doing so well. Rob Lytle, we understand, is setting the old Denver fans agog with his running out there and his blocking. We understand that Rob Lytle in the unfamiliar role, although he did a lot of blocking here in his junior year for Gordy Bell, but last year he was a tremendous runner, as you know, the leading ball carrier in the history of Michigan football on a career and on a season. And he had 28 touchdowns on his career. Rob Lytle, the little scat back from Fremont, Ohio, doing a whale of a job with the Denver Broncos. And then, of course, Jimmy Smith, the lad who brought back those punts against the Buckeyes a year ago, playing real good ball for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A whole host of Wolverines playing in professional ranks. Of course, Ohio has plenty of stars in professional football as well. 2nd and 12 on their own 40-yard line. Rod Gerald trailing 7-3. Over the center, it's caught at the 45. It's caught by Springs over the midfield stripe. Out of bounds to stop the clock with 23 seconds remaining at the Michigan 46-yard line. The clock and the ball and where it's located is the only thing I know that you fans are interested in. Any of you who may have just tuned us in, it's Michigan 7, Ohio State 3. The Buckeyes have come back after Michigan's go-ahead touchdown, have moved the ball from their own 18-yard line all the way down to the Michigan 46-yard line. We have 23 seconds remaining in the first half. The Buckeyes have it 1st and 10 on the Michigan 46-yard line. Gerald sets his team. He has Springs deep and Campbell close. It's the I formation. Pro set. Harold wide to the right, Hunter wide to the left. Drop back pass, it's thrown downfield, and it's caught beautifully at the 32-yard line by Herman Jones. Jones, coming into the game, had caught 7 passes for a total of 169 yards and 1 touchdown. That time he caught that ball, and Ohio State is in their 2-minute drill with 17 seconds remaining. 1st and 10 for the Buckeyes. Ohio State in first downs has 12. Michigan has 5. Rod Jarrow is back. He throws it out of bounds to stop the clock with exactly 10 seconds remaining. He wanted to take time to set up what will probably be not the last play, because I would guess that old Dr. Strange Hayes can send in a situation where he'll have 2 plays, at least a situation where they can try for a field goal, because in the all-out timeouts left, the scoreboard shows that is Ohio's last timeout. So they cannot stop the clock, and they are not going to attempt it. They're going to try a field goal here. And it will be holding for Ohio. It will be an attempt. More. 30 minutes gone. Michigan 7, Ohio State 3. Bob Foreman will be back with a big halftime show over this, the very maize and blue at the moment, Michigan Football Network.
Well, we're going to have a little presentation of our own right here in a moment. Bob Ufer, who we were but debating whether his voice would hold up for the second half, has come back into the radio booth. I have with me perhaps the greatest single fan of Bob Ufer's, Art Volo, who has a very special award to give Bob from all Bob Ufer's fans. Art?
Okay, Bob, this is a total surprise to you. You don't know we're going to do this. I have a plaque here from all the fans of Bob Ufer, and this is put together. I'd like to read this very quickly here to Robert Frost Ufer for his unparalleled contribution to the University of Michigan for 37 years. For all the fans.
So for all your fans.
For all the fans. Okay, Bob, this is for you.
We're going to be right back with the second half of this.
The important thing is this football game.
Right.
Ufer, you're right. We're going to be right back with the second half of this football game after this final halftime word on this, the Michigan Football Network.
Bob Ufer and Don Landau set for the second half of the climatic game of the 1977 season, Michigan versus Ohio State. And there's what the Buckeyes did a week ago against Indiana. The score at halftime was 7-7. Woody Hayes brought him out down there in the snake pit and went around the goal post at the southern end and then came back. And Lee Corso did the same thing with his Indiana team. So Bo is ignoring that altogether, coming away traditionally way across from the eastern sideline, right down below us here, and we're all set for the second half. The final 30 minutes of football for both Ohio State and Michigan in 1977. It is not the final football game for either of these teams because the winner here this afternoon goes to Pasadena and the loser today goes to the Sugar Bowl. That's almost a positive statement. Actually, the way this old reporter sees these bowl games shaping up right now, we see Notre Dame going down to Dallas and playing Texas for the national championship in the Cotton Bowl. We see Michigan out there against Washington in the Rose Bowl. We see Ohio State playing Old Bear Bryant, Alabama, in the Sugar Bowl. And down in the Orange Bowl, it'll be Oklahoma versus Penn State. You all have your ideas. That's just my humble opinion on how we'll watch these bowl games coming up on January 1st. But this is the Rosie Rose Bowl candidate bowl right here. This afternoon, Ohio State dominating the first 15 minutes of play. As the Buckeyes came out and moved 77 yards from the opening kickoff, booted a 28-yard field goal, led 3-0, just as they did in 69. We said it when they kicked that field goal, but Michigan has come back just as they did in 69, and the Wolverines, after they were shut out with 5 plays and 5 yards in the first 15 minutes of the ball game, came back in the second quarter, picked up 7 points and 5 first downs, and those are the only statistics that really count. Michigan 7, Ohio State 3. As a matter of fact, for what it may be worth, Michigan 11, Ohio State 3 in a rugby game. And now rugby is picking up in popularity. As you know, they play rugby and soccer in Europe and South America, and they're playing it here across this country of ours. But it's still football in your heart, in my heart, and in the hearts of many sports fans. And this has got to be one of the great classics. Ever since Big Bo and Little Woody started knocking heads back in 69, haven't these games been fantastic? It's almost like a serial on TV, only we have to wait 365 days. And this happens to be the 9th chapter of that serial. Woody 4, Bo 3, one time they tied. Kicking off is Orris for Ohio State. Remember, Ohio won the toss of the coin. The only toss of the coin Michigan's lost this year. Back for the Wolverines. Along the Wolverine end zone, it will be back there, Edwards, Clayton, and Hicks. Orris approaches the ball. The second half is into the record book. It's bounding under 5. It's going into the end zone. Automatic touchback. It goes out of the field of play. Edwards, very discreetly, goes back there. He's a freshman. He used good judgment. There's no way he needed to touch the ball as long as it went out of the field of play. Had he let it go in there and an Ohio State man had come down, 10 yards is a free ball. But Edwards was thinking every minute, well, really you can't say that a man is a freshman after he's played 10 and a half games in a season because he's really equivalent to a sophomore in experience right now. Okay, here goes Michigan. First play for the second half. Wide to the right is White. 2 tight ends in a balanced line is Smith deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center. Michigan leading 7-3. Looking at a tight 5-2 defensive alignment for the Buckeye. Leach hands off to Rosie Smith. He's up over the 21 and dropped at the 22-yard line. And a very aggressive front 5 of Ohio State. Aaron Brown, the nose guard, used his hands well, shut 2 would-be blockers and made his 4th tackle of the afternoon, his 88th tackle of the 1977 season, and Michigan has a 2nd down 8 situation facing them. The Wolverines and the Buckeyes went in. Both coaches actually have devised strategies here in the second half. You know what Michigan was doing in the first quarter? They were using a 5-man front with a 3-5-3. They went back to their basic 70, which is a 5-man front in the second quarter, and that's what paid off. 2nd and 8, 2 tight ends, a balanced line. There goes Stevenson in motion across formation. There's Ricky Leach back for pass. Cocks his arm, can't find a receiver. Now he's going to run. He's up over the 25. First down, Leach at the 34. And look at that boy, Leach faked the pass. Now, he knew he was over the line of scrimmage, but he wasn't sure that the defensive halfback of Ohio State, so he just pulled his arm back, and had he let the ball go, he's way over the line of scrimmage. But we could just see the halfback of Ohio State hesitate just enough to give Leach another 3 yards on the play. Beautiful poise, tremendous thinking on the part of Michigan's very astute all-Big Ten quarterback from Southwestern High School in Flint. There is Leach again, number 7. What a classy youngster. He sets his team 2 wideouts to the right. It's Clayton and White. It's Smith deep and Davis close. Davis has the ball over the 35, the 37-yard line, and Michigan right now wants nothing more than to move this ball down into Buckeye territory, into the Ohio State end zone, and take a dominating 17-3 lead. But Ufer, that's wishful thinking. The facts are Michigan has 2nd and 7 on their own 37-yard line. The ball resting 18 yards in from the western sideline. The Wolverines in the first half picked up 5 first downs and 7 points. Ohio State in the first half had 12 first downs and 3 points. 2 wideouts, Rick White along with Clayton. It'll be Smitty deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach is back for a pass on 2nd and 7. Cocks his arm. He's throwing us. Oh, it's way short of the intended receiver. He was open out there. The man was Smith, and Smith caught that. Well, it was a real critical 22-yard reception in Michigan's 46-yard drive for their only score of the ball game late in this first half. You remember the Wolverines moved 46 yards after that fine punt return by Dwight Hicks in 9 big plays, and the key play in it was Roosevelt Smith on that swing pass. The flow goes the opposite way of Smith. Smith goes around. It's a throwback pass by Leach. They just tried it on the last play, and it was short of the target. Leach just underthrew his receiver, Smith. So here it is, 3rd and 7. Ricky Leach in third down conversions has converted 4 out of 8. There it is, Smith deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center, looking at a 5-2, and he's back again. He being Leach, he's being rushed. He throws downfield incomplete. The intended receiver was Marsh. The intended receiver was Marsh, and the fans, naturally a partisan crowd, felt that Marsh was interfered with. It was Allegro, the Wolfman, covering Marsh. And so Michigan now has a punting situation for the first time here in the second half. And we'll see how the Buckeyes have rejuvenated themselves after looking like supermen in the first quarter, then kind of falling sort of flat on their face in the second period. They're going to rush 9 men against Johnny Anderson, who so far has punted twice. 1 for 35 yards, 1 for 36 yards. The point of scrimmage at 37. Anderson is standing on the Michigan 23-yard line. Lilja snaps, a perfect snap. It's a set-up return. Beautiful, long spiral, plenty of hang time. Taken by Guess at the 10. Guess is dropped at the 16-yard line. A beautiful punt by Johnny Anderson. That senior All-American candidate, the defensive end, Johnny Anderson, just booted one high, wide, and handsome all the way down to the Ohio State 10-yard line, where it was taken in stride there by Guess, and he brought it out. He was hit immediately down there by Mike Ken, but he kept this footing just long enough to lunge forward, Guess of Ohio State, to the Buckeye 16-yard line. Check in the Buckeyes on offense. It'll be Rod Sherrill at quarterback. It's the I formation. Springs deep and Jeff Logan close. Wide to the right is Harold. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. 1st and 10 at our own 16-yard line. Rod hands off to the tailback. Springs hit right there tonight. He fumbles the ball. It's recovered by Michigan. The Wolverines pick up their 24th turnover of 1977. Let's see who picked up that football. It was coughed up by Logan. This could be the biggest play of the ball game. It was recovered by Ron Simpkins. Ron Simpkins makes his 5th recovery of a fumble in 1977. None of the previous 4 were any more important than this one right here with 12 minutes remaining in the third period. Michigan leading in the ball game 7-3. The Wolverines 1st and 10 on the Ohio State 20-yard line. Check in Michigan's front 7. Stevenson, Ken, Donahue, Downing, Bartnick, Giesler, and Marsh. And there's timeout down in the playing field, and we call time in for a word over this, the very maize and blue 7-3 football network. Okay, Bob Ufer here after Michigan has just recovered the first turnover of the ball game. The Wolverines are set 1st and 10 on the Buckeye 20-yard line. Wide to the right goes Clayton. Wide to the left comes White. It's the I formation with Rosie Smith deep and Davis close, and Ohio State may rush an 8-man front here, and Ricky Leach may call an automatic at the line of scrimmage. He's back. Ricky Leach on the option is going to keep the ball over the 20, down to 15, down to 10, 9, 8-yard line. Ricky Leach has the ball at the Ohio State 8-yard line. And the Ohio State fans here are subdued. The Michigan fans are going stark raving bananas. After Johnny Anderson's 52-yard punt on the first play, Ohio coughed up the ball. Michigan has the ball now on the Ohio State 9-yard line. Roosevelt Smith scored the only touchdown of the ball game by either team, climaxing a 46-yard drive midway through that second period to give Michigan a 7-3 halftime lead. Two tight ends in a balanced line. Wide to the left is White. It's Rosie Smith deep. Smith, Davis close. White in motion. There's Davis down the 3-yard line. Russell Davis, who a year ago scored two tremendous touchdowns against Ohio State. Remember the first touchdown after the kickoff of the second half. Michigan a year ago moved 78 yards, and Russell Davis went in from the 3. Then the next time Michigan had the ball, they moved 68 yards, and Russell Davis went in from the 3, and Michigan led 15-0. And then Rob Lido climaxed the drive in the midway in the fourth period to give Michigan a 22-0 lead. Michigan leads 7-3. They have two tight ends in a balanced line. 2nd and 3 on the Buckeye 3-yard line. There goes Stevenson in motion across formation. Russell Davis barreling his way to the 2-yard line. Russell Davis is down to the 2.5-yard line before Aaron Brown. And make no mistake about it, these Ohio State defensive men are playing their hearts out up front. They have Ross, Cato, Brown, Doolin, and Danzler. And they are spotting just 7 pounds per man to Michigan's forward wall here, who right now are composed of Marsh, Ken, Donahue, Downing, Bartnick, Giesler, and Smergy. The quarterback is Leach. At the halfback spot, it is Rick White now because Clayton is out. Two tight ends, a balanced line. Rosie Smith deep, Davis close. 3rd and 2 on the Buckeye 1.5-yard line. There goes White in motion. Ricky Leach rolls to the right. He cuts back in. He's going in, and he does. He scores. Ricky Leach scores. He scores his 51st touchdown of his career. He scores his 20th touchdown on passes and runs, and it is his 7th touchdown running here in the 1977 season. Look at the tissue paper. I couldn't call it toilet paper over the air. That wouldn't be cricket. But all of the maize and blue festive situations that ever existed in the past are raining down on Canham's carpet now. Chris Stevenson is kneeling at the Ohio State 10. Greg Wilner is 1 out of 1, 39 out of 40 on the season. It's spotted, it's end over end, it's kicked, it's good. Greg Wilner makes it 14 for Michigan. Ohio State 3 over this, the very maize and blue football network. Michigan 14, Ohio State 3. Greg Wilner kicks off. Griffin catches it in the end zone. Griffin of Ohio to the 5, to the 10, to the 12, to the 14. He's hit at the 15 and dropped right there at the 15-yard line. Ray Griffin, Archie Griffin's brother, takes Greg Wilner's kickoff on the goal line and comes out to the 15-yard line. 20 yards in 4 plays. 20 yards in 4 plays after the first turnover of the ball game, coughed up by Springs, recovered by Simpkins, and Michigan has a 14-3 lead. What is it that Bo Schembechler told you and I in the locker room before the game? Mistakes could tell the difference in this ball game, and right now that has loomed as a big one. Wide to the right is Harold at the slot. Jones wide, I formation. Harold is back to the right. He pitches the ball off to the halfback Springs, and he's hit right there at the 21-yard line. Boy, and is he hit. Ron Springs, number 23. But Gerald, utilizing the option again, just as he did in the first period so effectively. He comes out, and then he options Michigan's defensive end. And the defensive end commits either to the quarterback or to the man that's trailing. And that time, he committed to the quarterback, and so he pitched immediately to Springs, and Springs had running room out to the Buckeye 21-yard line. Michigan is not dropping off their ends right now. They're crashing in with a 5-man front. They have a 5-3-3. There's a pitch off to Springs. He has opening to the 25, the 28, the 29-yard line. First down, Ohio State. and that is Ohio State's first down of the second half. They're 13th in the ball game. Michigan has 7 first downs, but the Wolverines, more important, have 2 touchdowns. They moved 46 yards in the second period in 9 plays. They moved 20 yards here early in the third period on 4 plays after the first fumble of the ball game, coughed up by Ohio, recovered by the Wolverines. 2 wide outs. Jones wide to the right, Harold at the slot to the right. It springs deep and Campbell close. There's Gerald rolling out. He's tackled from behind. A beautiful nose guard tackle by Steve Graves. His 3rd sack of the 1977 season, his 2nd of the afternoon. Boy, did that nose guard of Michigan move in there beautifully. The Cleveland, Ohio lad, the senior, number 54, diagnosing the play just as the center snapped the ball. Vogler, he's supposed to take the nose guard. Well, he was just shocked, he being Vogler, by Graves. He shucked Vogler, and then just moved in on a slant and picked off Gerald just as he was moving around after faking to his fullback. Beautifully executed defensive play by the middle guard. Michigan shifting now. There's Gerald setting his team. Wide to the right is Jones. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Gerald back for a pass. He throws way down, and it's caught down there, beautifully caught down there by Jaco at the 42-yard line. That'll be another first down for Ohio. That was a well-executed pass play. Ron Gerald, who coming into the game had completed 47 out of 81, and here this afternoon he has thrown 8 and completed 6. That was his 6th completion. You can't do much better than that, 6 out of 8. Ricky Leach has 3 out of 8 so far, but Ricky Leach has 14 points. Ron Gerald has 3. And you know, when it comes down to the final analysis, it's those 2 quarterbacks that are determining the outcome of this game. Gerald now rolls out to the right, back for a pass. He's going to throw the bomb, and he's open. Harold's open at the 30. He's dropped at the Michigan 24-yard line. Beautifully thrown. What did we say before the play? The quarterbacks determine it. Boy, I'll tell you, that was a well-executed pass play. It was caught by Jim Harrell. That is his 12th reception of 1977, the 2nd here this afternoon. His longest reception was 79 yards early in the season when Ohio State defeated Southern Methodist 35-7. Harold caught a 79-yard touchdown pass, probably very similar to that one. So now Ohio State has 2 wide outs, Harrell and Jones. It springs deep. Springs has the ball, following Logan. Hit at the 25, down to the 20, knocked out of bounds at the 19-yard line. Boy, this is still anybody's football game, believe you me. 8 minutes and 35 seconds remaining in the third period. Michigan leading in the contest 14-3, but Ohio State threatening here. The Buckeyes moved the first time they had the ball, 77 yards in 15 plays, went ahead on a 28-yard field goal. They've moved in twice in the field goal distance, but both of the field goals went awry. That's been their scoring picture. Michigan moved 46 yards in the first half and scored, and their second touchdown came after a fumble, 20 yards, and that's been it, 14-3. Gerald is rolling out, fakes to the fullback. Gerald is hit back there. He loses the tackler down the 19, hit at the 16, and dropped right there at the 16-yard line, and is he racked and hit. Gerald hit across the way over there by Hicks, Jolly, and Pickens. Pickens making his 3rd tackle from the safety position this afternoon, and his 58th of 1977. Michigan's defense that time dropping off again, Lund. They're dropping off that 5-man front, dropping 2 men back, giving Ohio a 3-5-3 to look at, and Gerald's utilizing that.
He certainly has, Bob, and moved along the line, and he's gotten good offensive blocking also, so he's tough.
Okay, for the first time, the old full house tee in the backfield. There's Camo in the middle. There goes motion by the halfback. Camo has the ball, and he's down to the 11-yard line. That's the old power play utilized by Ohio State since Woody Hayes took over in 1951. It's 2 tight ends in a balanced line and 3 men across the backfield. It's the fullback and the 2 halfbacks. All 3 men are 3.5 yards behind the quarterback in a straight line back there. You call that the full house tee, and that's power football because you can hit from 3 different areas when you come out of the huddle that way. Here they are again, the full house tee. Harold on the right, Camo in the middle, and on the left is Logan. Rod Gerald at quarterback, 1st and 10. There is Gerald hit back there on the 14, call it the 13-yard line. Beautiful defensive play in there by Michigan's Greer. Kurt Greer coming in for his 4th tackle of the afternoon, and that is Mr. Greer's 81st of 1977. McCartney's monsters are digging in for dear life right now because Ohio State, after they kicked off to Michigan to start the second half, they found the Wolverines punting, and now they have moved back here, and they are trailing 14-3. It'll be 2nd and 12 on the Michigan 14-yard line. There is Gerald rolling out on the option play. He pitches off to the halfback, and he's hit right there, Logan, at the 15-yard line. Mike Jolly coming up and covering the pitch-out man. And Gerald that time thought he had faked the halfback, but he hadn't. Jolly gave Gerald a fake, and then Gerald thought, oh, he's coming at me, so he pitched back to Logan, and Jolly went right over and says, beautiful, man, you fell right into my trap. You pitched the ball, you got it to Logan, and I'm going to get Logan right here, and he made him eat the ball on the 14-yard line. Logan couldn't believe he ate the whole thing, but he did right there on the 14-yard line, bringing up third down. 13 yards to go, and there's a timeout down in the playing field. Lundo, what a third period.
It certainly is, Bob. I mean, like you said earlier, this game isn't over with, and certainly Ohio State has put it together offensively, and now we have a third down with about a 12 or 13 situation. So our defense has got to rise to the occasion, and Gerald is tough.
Yes, sir. Would you believe the Wolverines actually have played before more fans than any other team in the history of football? This is the 16th straight game that Michigan has had over 100,000 fans. A tremendous tribute to the greatest 1-2 punch in intercollegiate athletics today. Schembechler produces a product and Canham merchandises same. 7 sellouts this year, 7 a year ago, and 2 in 1975. There is Gerald back on 3rd and 13. He's being chased, and he's going to eat the ball. He throws it away. That'll cost him 5 more yards, intentionally ground. Oh, it's 5 more yards and the loss of a down. From the 28-yard line, they'll move it back to the 33-yard line. And Ufer, you're being impartial as usual, aren't you? Sure you are. You don't care who wins, just so it's Michigan. No, sir, they're claiming that he was down before he threw the pass, so Michigan doesn't pick up an additional 5 yards. And now, the lad who kicked one 28 yards, Vlad Onikievsky, is going to try and make it 2 out of 4 on the afternoon. He's 1 out of 3. Harold will be kneeling at the 34-yard line. The lad who caught that long pass a moment ago is kneeling at the 34. Onikievsky is back, and he's ready to attempt to give Ohio State 6 points. It's end over end. It looks long enough. Is it straight enough? It's good. Ohio State 6, Michigan 14. 5 minutes and 47 seconds remaining in the third period. 85 yards in 12 plays. But once again, Lundo, the key to that whole situation was McCartney's Monsters coming to the fore when they really were called on. This is the third time that Ohio State in this ball game has moved inside the Michigan 10-yard line, only to be hurled back and had field goals attempted against them. And actually, of the last 3 times, they've made 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 4 on the whole ball game. A tremendous effort defensively by Michigan's defense. That's been the hallmark of Schembechler's football for 9 years. 85 yards and 12 big plays. We'll have a station identification right now over this, the Michigan Football Network. Okay, Bob Ufer here, all set for Ohio State to kick off for the second time here in the second half. They kicked off to start this third period just about 10 minutes ago. Michigan couldn't do a thing. They punted to the Buckeyes. Ohio State responded by fumbling, and the Wolverines moved in 20 yards in 4 plays to take a 14-3 lead. But now Ohio State has come back 85 yards in 12 plays. They connected on a beautifully kicked 44-yard field goal, and the Buckeyes are now within 1 touchdown of tying this up, because 1 touchdown and a 2-point extra point, and we have a 14-14 stymie. And remember, a tie for Ohio is as good as a victory as far as the Big Ten championship is concerned and the Rose Bowl bid, because Michigan has lost their game against a conference opponent, Minnesota. Ohio State lost their only game against a non-conference opponent, Big Oklahoma. Here we go. Onikievsky kicks, it's end over end, and it is Clayton who catches it on the 3, and he's up to the 5, to the 10, the 15, hit at the 20, the 22, and Ralph Clayton's dropped at the 22-yard line. So check in the maize and blue on offense, check in the scarlet and gray on defense, and with 5 minutes and 42 seconds remaining, for those of you who may have just tuned in, it's Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. The Wolverines now up front. We see Marsh, Ken, Donahue, Walt Downing, co-captain and center, and all Big Ten lad there. At the pivot position for Michigan on Downing's left is Bartnick, Giesler, and Smirgy. It'll be Ricky Leach at quarterback. Clayton, Davis, and Smith. Smith deep and Davis close in the I formation. Ricky Leach sets his team. He's looking at a very conventional 5-2-4. He fakes to Davis. He being Leach, pitches off to Rosie up over the 20, the 25, the 27-yard line. He picked up just about his average coming into the ball game, 4.5 yards per carry. The little scat back who scored the first touchdown of this ball game for either team. It was midway through that second period when he climaxed Michigan's 46-yard drive to give the Wolverines a halftime lead of 7-3. Here comes Marsh in from the sidelines with a play and take Ralph Clayton out. That means the Wolverines will have 2 tight ends. And Michigan now is trying to keep Ohio's defense off balance. They intend to pass here on second down quite a bit in this second half. 2 tight ends, a balance line. Rick White in motion across formation. Ricky Leach in the draw play. There's Rosie Smith. He fumbles the ball and it's recovered by Ohio State at the 31-yard line. There is a big break. Ohio State fumbled earlier in this second half. The Wolverines moved 20 yards. And now Michigan fumbles at the Wolverine 31 and Ohio State recovers. Tit for tat. And right now, Ohio State has had 25 turnovers in 1977. Michigan has had 25 turnovers in 1977. And they are composed of, would you believe, on both sides, of 17 fumble recoveries and 8 interceptions. Absolutely identical in picking up turnovers by the other team. That's an amazing statistic, really. Both teams the same number and the same way through 11 games. The I formation springs deep and Logan close. Logan has the ball and he's into the open down the 25-yard line. Boy, we've said it in the past, football's a game of emotions. And emotionally, when you have a turnover, the team that picks it up is psyched up. And Ohio's psyched right now. They just moved on the first play after the recovered fumble from the Michigan 31 to the Wolverine 24-yard line. McCartney's Monsters are digging in with Tedesco, Greer, Graves, Kites, and Anderson. It'll be Dwight Hicks at the Wolf spot. Looking that over is Rod Gerald. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Rod Gerald hands to the halfback. He's smothered right there at the 23-yard line. The halfback in there is Jeff Logan, who that time really was at the fullback spot. Logan and Springs are alternating between the fullback and the tailback spot throughout this ball game, and that's been their pattern all season long. The ball rests 21 yards in from the far eastern sideline. 4 minutes and 8 seconds remaining in the third period. Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. It's still anybody's football game. Rod Gerald, 2 tight ends in a balanced line. This is power football for Ohio State. Harold, Campbell. There is the fullback, and he's hit back there in the 24-yard line. Beautiful defensive play in there by Michigan with 3rd and 1. Ohio State is thwarted, and it's a stunned Buckeye bench over there. Dr. Strange Hayes has just turned a shade of maize and blue as he can't believe that great offensive thrust of his with power football. A full house tee couldn't pick up 1 yard. So now will we have a field goal attempt on 4th and 3? Yes, sir, he's going to go for it because actually, if he pulls up to within 14-9, a touchdown, and that's it. Why gamble? This will be a climatic one. The lad who was kicked 2 out of 4, his name is Valade Onikiewski. Kneeling is Harrell at the 32. It's a 42-yard attempt. It's no good. And so Roosevelt Smith breathes a sigh of relief because it was his cough-up of the football on the Michigan 31-yard line 4 plays ago that gave Ohio State a tremendous opportunity, the same opportunity that Michigan had earlier in this first half when Springs, the tailback of Ohio State, coughed the ball up on the Ohio State 20, and 4 plays later, Ricky Leach put it into the end zone himself to give Michigan that 14-3 lead. So Ohio State's field goal, their 5th of the afternoon. They're 2 out of 5, and right down on the playing field, we see the Wolverines are in an offensive huddle. And this ball game, I'll tell you, Lendo, I'm starting to lose my voice. You want to take over for a second?
I'll take over, Bob, and I'll say the key in that situation when they were in that power offense, which they go for short yardage, a great play by Simpkins, number 40, who busted through and decked the guy, and that was the difference in making it a attempt at a 4-yard for a first down, and then an attempt for the field goal. Great play by Simpkins on defense.
You know, when we think about the winner here going out to the Rose Bowl, Michigan's been out there to the Pasadena Classic 7 times. They've won 4, they've lost 3, and the average Rose Bowl score, I don't think anybody has a better average than this out in Pasadena, even though Michigan is only 4-3. Michigan won their first 4, lost their last 3 appearances in Pasadena, and the average score has been Michigan 24, the opponent 7. Meanwhile, Ohio State's been out 10 times. They're 5 wins and 5 losses. The average score is Ohio 18, the West Coast team 20. Okay, Rosie Smith deep, Davis close. I formation, 1st and 10 to the 20-yard line. Davis is it right there at the 22-yard line. Beautiful submarining in there by the linebacker, Dave Atkins, because Ohio State now is pulling that 70 front, only they're bringing the linebackers right up into the line, and just as Ricky Leach takes a snap, he's almost confronted with a tight 7-4. And Michigan has a play devised for that, and Ricky Leach has the ability, and he has the independence from Bo to call an automatic, and they've been working on it all week, and we can't disclose it now until they use it. But let Ohio keep pulling those men in tight and giving Michigan that 8- and 9-man front, and you'll see something, believe me. There it is, Smith deep, Davis close, 2nd and 8 on the 22-yard line. He's back for a pass, and he throws there, and it's caught down there at the 42-yard line. He caught it out of bounds, no good. Ralph Clayton caught the ball out of bounds at the 44-yard line. It was thrown a little bit wide in that Ricky Leach, with a flagpole into the field at Ricky Leach's back and the ball on the Michigan 22-yard line. Leach faked to Davis, then dropped straight back. He was standing midway between the sideline stripes on the Michigan 15-yard line. Clayton, who was flanked out on this side to the left, went down this western sideline toward the northern end and was down over the 40-yard line about a yard in from the out of bounds and couldn't quite reach up, catch the ball, and stay in bounds at the same time. So it's 3rd and 8. Rosie Smith deep. Russell Davis close. Ricky Leach, 2 wide outs to the right. Ricky Leach, drop play to Davis. He's hit right there at the 24-yard line. Had he gotten that one, he would have been long gone, but he didn't. You know that iffy bag in football, in any sport. Isn't that iffy bag a wonderful thing? If this, if that. The facts are Ohio State's defense was tremendous. They diagnosed the drop play real well, and they dropped Russell Davis, so it'll be Johnny Anderson again with 4th and 6. Anderson has punted 3 times. His last one went 52 yards. If there's any wind at all, it's at Anderson's back. Lilja, the special center on specialty teams, is over the ball. He's had good snaps. Another good snap by Lilja. Another nice, well, not too good. End over end coming down at the 40-yard line, taken by Allegro. He's hit at the 44-yard line, and Ohio State will start 56 yards away from the Michigan end zone. A 36-yard kick with a 4-yard return. And so check in the offensive team of the Buckeyes. Michigan on defense, 1 minute and 41 seconds remaining in the 3rd period. 16 minutes and 41 seconds away from Pasadena for either Michigan or Ohio State. And right now, it looks like the Wolverines on top by 8, but anything can happen. You know, speaking of the Rose Bowl, the scores up there now are the last 2 Rose Bowl scores, Oklahoma and Southern Cal over Michigan, final scores. There it is, Rod Gerald. Can't find a receiver. Now he's going to run. He changes his mind. He's hit at the 48-yard line. Boy, he had plenty of time. But that cat-like movement of Rod Gerald in there is something to watch. He is, they call him Lightning Rod Gerald down in Columbus newspapers, and I can see why. He is very elusive. You remember early in this ball game on a broken pass play, he went 22 yards. Nobody was open. He eluded 3 would-be tacklers and went down this western sideline like, well, you know what he went down there like a bat out of where bats come from. There is Rod Gerald under center now. The I formation springs deep and Logan close. Gerald goes out. He hands to Logan, and he's hit right there at the midfield stripe and driven back by Simpkins. And there's no way Jeff Logan, who weighs 197 pounds, is going to move Ron Simpkins' 227-pound frame, because Simpkins right now has 144 tackles on the season. He is only a sophomore, and he is a real fine linebacker. Bo claims that he could be the finest linebacker he's ever had by the time he's a senior. So it'll be 3rd down and 4, a 3rd down situation. Ohio State has converted 4 out of 10 so far. There's Rod Gerald. Pitches off to the halfback. It's a first down. Springs is over the 40, the 30, and he's dropped at the 31-yard line. Beautiful running in there by Springs. Ron Springs, and that was the option play executed to perfection. Again, this Ron Gerald came out. He optioned with his fullback, Jeff Logan, saw that Logan was taken, so he moved out. He optioned the defensive end of Michigan. He faked him out, and then the defensive halfback had to commit to the quarterback, Gerald, and then Gerald just pitched out to Springs, and Springs had open field, and he moved all the way down to the 33-yard line. So it's the I formation. Logan deep and Campbell close. Gerald under center, 1st and 10. Pitches off this time to Logan. He's hit at the 31-yard line. Picking up on the play about 2.5 yards through the right side. Ohio State does not lead on that particular play with their fullback. They have the pulling guard, and there it is. With the scoreboards reading, Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. We pause for this message over this, the very maize and blue, scarlet and gray football network. Bob Ufer here, ready to bring you the final 15 minutes of Michigan-Ohio State football for 1977. What a first 45 minutes we've had. I'm sure you've enjoyed it just as much as we've had. This has been a real barn burner, cliffhanger, call it what you will. Ohio State threatening here, trailing 14-6, 15 big minutes left on the digital scoreboards, and the Buckeyes have possession on the Michigan 31-yard line. It's 2nd down, 8 yards to go for the first down. Bo in his 101st game here at Michigan. He's 185, lost 12 for 88%. Woody is playing his 263rd ball game at Ohio State as head coach. Hayes, over these last 26 and a half seasons, has won 198, lost 55, tied 9. That's winning at the rate of 78%. There are only 2 coaches in the country who have ever had more victories than Woody Hayes. And that's Pappy Waldorf, Pappy Waldorf, Bear Bryant, and Pop Warner. Stagg, Warner, and Bryant check. There's 2 tight ends in the balance line. The fullback has the ball, and he's hit right there at the 29-yard line. It's Campbell, Paul Campbell, number 38, who was dropped in there by Kurt Greer. Michigan's front 5 right now: Anderson, Godfrey, Graves, Greer, and Tedesco. The linebackers are Simpkins and Owens. The halfbacks are Howard and Jolly. Pickens at safety with Dwight Hicks at the Wolf spot. Those 11 men stand between victory for Ohio State or a possible tie here. And they're digging in, and Ohio State digs in offensively with 2 tight ends in the balance line. Wide to the left is Jones. It Springs deep and Logan close. Gerald back for a pass. Cocks his arm over the center. It's caught by Springs. He's tripped up at the 19-yard line. A last-minute tackle in there, and had he not made that tackle, it was Jim Pickens. Springs would have been long gone, because Ohio is noted for the big play. They've been doing the big play all season, and that particular play has worked very well for the Buckeyes. Delayed draw play over the center to the tailback, with Gerald going through, faking to the fullback, then dropping back. Springs going on through either the right side or left side over the tackle position, then cuts back in across center, and he's been wide open. 1st and 10 on the 19-yard line. Gerald goes out, pitches off to Springs again, and he's hit at the 14-yard line and dropped right there at the 14-yard line. Dropped in there by Jimmy Pickens. A beautiful tackle in there by Pickens on Springs. And this is where it's going to get tight in here, the nitty-gritty. This is where they separate the men from the boys. 13 minutes and 51 seconds remaining. Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. The Buckeyes, Woody Hayes has called the play because they break out offensively. There go 2 wide outs to the right. That's Jones, followed by Harold. It Springs deep and Logan close, and Rod Gerald under center at quarterback, 2nd and 5 at the 18. Gerald pitches off this time to the halfback, and he's hit right there at the 13-yard line. It's Springs again. Springs is caught right there, and they're putting the ball. Where are they spotting it? The 12-yard line? Right there at the 12-yard line it'll be now. 3rd down and 2. A very, very climatic 3rd down. The last time they were inside the Michigan 15 on 3 3rd down situations, Ohio failed to pick it up. Now we'll see what they can do. They have converted 6 out of 13 3rd down situations. Ricky Leach has converted 6 out of 12. So 2 tight ends in a balanced line, a full house tee. The last time they didn't get any yardage. There it is, the halfback Gerald. He pitches off to the halfback. 1st down, Ohio at the 10-yard line. It's Logan. Boy, that was well executed. Instead of doing what they did on the 2 previous times they had a 3rd down and short yardage, running the power play to the fullback, it was Gerald faking to Campbell, then pulling it back and pitching off to Logan, and he was picked off by Pickens, but after he had picked up a 1st down. So it will be. No, sir, he's a yard shy of the 1st down. It's 4th and 1, and Woody is calling this one. He's going to go for broke. It's 4th and 1 at the 10-yard line. Michigan's front 5. Anderson, Kites, Graves, Greer, and Tedesco. Hicks, Simpkins, and Owens. Howard, Pickens, and Jolly. Those 11 men are trying to keep Ohio from 1 yard. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Full house tee in the backfield. Rod Gerald under center. He gives to his fullback, and his fullback is hit, and I don't know whether he made it. I don't think he made it. It all depends on where they give him the ball, and you'll hear a roar go up if they do not make that 1st down. They're unpiling, and number 16, that's Jolly, indicated he didn't make it, and they're going to have a measurement. They're putting the ball down, and I don't think they made it either, Lundo, but don't get too excited, Ufer. Hang on to your kilohertz. This could hurt Ohio, and it could give Michigan a real big lift. They're putting the ball out, and it is not. McCartney's Monsters held. Ohio is a dejected band of scarlet and gray as they walk off the field. 4th and 1, and that could be the turning point in the ball game. Ohio State couldn't make a 1st down with 1 yard to go. McCartney's Monsters. Michigan's defense has been tremendous for 100 ball games, and they have surpassed that in Bo Schembechler's 101st game that he's coaching here this afternoon as the head man of the Maize and Blue. Up over the ball is Walt Downing. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Smith deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center. There it is. Ricky Leach on the option play. He's keeping it. He's up to the 14-yard line. Picks up 5.5 yards on the play. Ricky Leach picking him up and laying him down. He utilized his skills as an option quarterback very efficiently that time, didn't he, Lendo?
Certainly did, Bob, because they were prepared to stop Davis up the middle, and he made the option and went out and then held it because he was still in jeopardy as far as pitching back to Roosevelt Smith.
Yes, sir, these are the finals of the annual Big 2 football tournament. Michigan leading Bo over Woody 14-6. It's the I formation, Smith deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center with two tight ends in a balanced line. He gives it to Rosie Smith. He's up over the 19 to 20. First down, Michigan, as they move out from under the shadow of the goal post, if there were any here this afternoon. Shadows, that is. There is not a shadow on the field. The only shadow over this field now is the image of Fielding H. Yost up in football's Valhalla. He's smiling down on his maize and blue now. The man who built the great empire here at Michigan. The man who from 1901 to 1926 won 84% of his ball games. Michigan now has it 1st and 10. On their own 22-yard line, Smith deep and Davis close, two tight ends in a balanced line. Ricky Leach rolls out, pitches off to Rosie over the 25, the 30. Out of bounds at the 20, or call it the 31-yard line. Michigan now has picked up the momentum. The complexion of the ball game is decidedly maize and blue, where just 60 short seconds ago it was scarlet and gray, and as old Ufer is prone to say, the maize and blue daubers are sky high at the moment because McCartney's monsters, that tremendous defensive stand by Michigan, for the 4th time in the ball game, kept Ohio State from scoring a touchdown. Okay, Ricky Leach, 2nd and 1 on his own 31-yard line. Davis close and Rosie Smith deep. Davis trying to get one. He does get it. Boy, that's a great second effort by that junior fullback. That guy who coming into the ball game had picked up 957 yards. And I'm going to ask our human computer right now. Davis needs 43 yards to become a 1,000-yard runner here in the 1977 season. He has not picked up 42 yards. He has 35. When Russell Davis gets 7 more yards, he will be the 7th man to gain 1,000 yards in a single season for Michigan. Wide to the left is Rick White. Two tight ends in a balanced line. It's Rosie Smith deep and Davis close, and there is Davis up over the 35, the 40, the 41-yard line. This is Schembechler football at its finest. Ball control up the middle. There it was Russell Davis taking the handoff from Ricky Leach. Another first down. The clocks continue to roll. 10 minutes and 58 seconds remaining. 10 minutes and 58 seconds from here to Pasadena and Paradise. Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. And Russell Davis just moved over 1,000 yards in a single season. A great effort by a great fullback. He's now close. He has the ball, and he's up over the 45 to the 47. He picked up another first down for Michigan, and the Wolverines now have 10 first downs. Ohio State has 17 first downs. But you know the statistic that counts? Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. 10 minutes and 35 seconds remaining on the digital scoreboards. The Wolverines have Rick White going out wide to the left. Up over the ball comes Walt Downing. The Wolverine line follows. Two tight ends in a balanced line. Smith deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach looks over a 7-4 defensive alignment, and he hands off to Smith. Smith is upended right there at the 48-yard line. Dave Atkins used his hands very well, shucked two would-be blockers, dove at Rosie Smith, and knocked him fanny over tin cups, really, right there at the 48-yard line. 10 minutes remaining in the ball game. Second down right now. 8 yards to go. And you know what? Bo Schembechler would love to have Michigan, if they could possibly do it, have a sustained drive here of 52 yards and 37 plays to eat up 9 minutes. Boy, Ufer, that's a figment of your imagination. Here goes Ricky Leach now, 2nd and 9 on his own 48. Smith deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center, rolls out to the right. Davis is hit at the midfield stripe and stopped right there. Ohio knows that that clock is continuing to tick. They know that they must stop the Wolverines from this sustained drive. Remember, Michigan took over after that great defensive stand on the Ohio State, on the Michigan 9.5-yard line, and the Wolverines have now eaten up 5 minutes and 32 seconds on the clock, and they have the ball right at the midfield stripe with 3rd down and 7. In 3rd down conversions, Ricky Leach has converted 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10, and he needs this one very badly. Two wide outs, Clayton and White. It's Rosie Smith deep. Davis close. Ricky Leach goes out. Ricky Leach going to keep the ball. He needs 7. He doesn't make it. He's 2 yards shy. He gives Johnny Anderson, though, an excellent place to kick the ball from. But Ohio State now. Remember, this is the most important factor in this game right now. Ohio State, if they score a touchdown, go for 2. A tie for Ohio is as good as a win, because a tie gives them the outright championship, the outright Rose Bowl bid, and that would be a dastardly fate for Woody, or for Bo Schembechler, of all the ill fortune that Bo has had. Ufer, quit painting that picture of doom. The bright side is Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. Johnny Anderson punting from his own 40-yard line. The line of scrimmage is the Ohio State 46. There it is, end over end. A fair catch at the 10. It's Guess, and it is 1st and 10 for the Ohio State Buckeyes, 90 yards away from a Big Ten championship and a Rose Bowl bid from their own 10-yard line with 8 minutes and 5 seconds remaining. And I'll tell you, this old reporter, I've been doing 324 ball games, and my throat is sort of kind of winding down, Lundo. I'm not sure we're going to finish this, but I think maybe we'll pull it out from somewhere.
Bob, I'm betting on you. I'll tell you right now. Oh, Bob, you know, I used to run that track, Bob, and you had that little extra at the end. That's exactly what you'll come through. I'm betting on you.
Okay, the picture here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It couldn't be any more dramatic. Michigan has scored twice. Ohio State took the opening kickoff on 77 yards in 15 plays. They looked like they were going to blow Michigan right off the field, and they led 3-0. Then Michigan came back, stopped them on a field goal attempt, and then finally in the second period, the Wolverines moved 46 yards in 9 plays, went ahead at halftime, 7-3. Then Ohio State coughed up the ball on the Buckeye 20, and Michigan in 4 plays had a 14-3 lead. Then Ohio State came back and kicked another field goal, making it 14-6. That's where we are right now, statistically, and the only statistic that really counts. Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. The Buckeyes have the ball right now, 19 yards in from this western sideline on the Buckeye 10-yard line. Ohio State's backfield, Rod Gerald at quarterback, Harold at halfback, Logan at fullback, and Springs at the tailback. Here we go. Springs deep, Logan close. Rod Gerald at quarterback. Wide to the right is Harold. Gerald's back, throws a pass. It's caught by Harold to 15. He slips right there and picks up 5 yards on the play. Jim Harrow catches his 3rd pass of the afternoon, the 13th on this season. 7 minutes and 58 seconds remaining in the ball game. 19 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Michigan's front 5 right now. Anderson, Kites, Graves, Greer, Tedesco. The linebackers Simpkins and Meter. It's Dwight Hicks at the wolf spot with Howard and Jolly at the defensive cornerbacks and Jimmy Pickens at safety. Rod Gerald looks that over, 2nd and 5 on his own 15-yard line. He has Logan deep. He gives to Logan. He's dropped right there at the 15-yard line. Jeff Logan upended on a draw play to the tailback right up the gut of the Wolverine defense. And boy, that gut was spearheaded by Steve Graves and Kurt Greer, making a 2-man tandem tackle. It brings up 3rd down and 5. This is a big, big 3rd down play. Rod Gerald has converted 6 out of 14 so far, and this will be his 15th attempt to pick up a 1st down on 3rd down. 2 wide outs, Harold at the slot, and it is Jones way out. It's Springs deep and Campbell close. Gerald's back. He can't find a receiver. He throws downfield. It's caught by Harold at the 35-yard line. 1st down, Ohio State at their own 35-yard line. A very fine pass thrown by Gerald and equally well caught by that fine halfback, Harrell. Actually, Jim Harrell, the wingback, halfback, you'd almost call him a wide receiver because that's what he is. Coming into the game, he'd caught 10. He's just caught his 4th of the afternoon. Ohio State on passes has taken to the air 12 times. They have completed 10. 10 out of 12, a tremendous statistic for Rod Gerald. He's trying to pull the Buckeyes back into a tie. He's back again. He cocks his arm. He throws a swing pass out here to the safety valve. He's hit at the 42. It springs, and he's dropped right there at the 45-yard line. Dwight Hicks made the tackle only after he picked up another 8 yards. Plenty of time left on the digital scoreboard, 6 minutes and 25 seconds. As Ohio State, oh, how well we remember 2 years ago. Michigan scored, went ahead on Ricky Leach's quarterback sneak, 14-7. Ohio hadn't had a 1st down since the 1st quarter, or 38 minutes. They came back and moved 80 yards in the last 5 minutes, and then Michigan threw an interception. They went ahead and won that ball game 21-14. A nightmare for Michigan. Here is Gerald. Gerald is hit, but he heads off to the fullback first. He's over the 49-yard line, and he gets the 1st down. Boy, Gerald used his head really and his hands on that one. He was faking to the fullback, only he gave to the fullback, and he was hit right there at the 49-yard line. And who do we have behind us here? One of the great 1,000-yard runners for Michigan, Ron Johnson. Ron, come on down here. What do you think of this ball game?
Fantastic. Like the score.
Yes, sir. Do you like it? Do you think it'll stay this way?
I think it will.
Boy, Ron, we remember your 5 big touchdowns against Wisconsin out here in '68. Okay, Rod Gerald, 1st and 10 on the 48-yard line. He's up over the midfield stripe, the broken play. He's tripped up at the Michigan 35-yard line. He's dropped there at the Michigan 35-yard line by Johnny Anderson. This is still anybody's football game. You just heard the voice of one of the great All-American halfbacks in the history of Michigan football. Went on and was a great professional player with the New York Giants. The one and only Ron Johnson from down in Detroit, one of the great halfbacks to come out of the Detroit school system. And, of course, now we have a lot of them. Huckleberry Finn and Roosevelt Smith and Greer, to name a few, but back to the field. 1st and 10 for Ohio State on the Michigan 35-yard line. There is Gerald out to the right, pitches off to the halfback. He's hit at the 25 and dropped right there at the 25-yard line. Another first down for the Buckeyes. 5 minutes and 14 seconds remaining as they are about a yard shy of the first down. Kurt Greer made the tackle along with Jim Pickens. The point is now, will history repeat itself of 2 years ago when the Buckeyes moved down with still the clock showing just as they did 2 years ago, Michigan ahead by 7 points, and the Wolverines are ahead right now by 8 points. It's the I formation, spring steep and Camel close. There is Camel, and he's hit right there at the 25-yard line. He needed one, and I don't think he got it. This will give Ohio one more play, though. It'll be 3rd and 1/2 yard to go. 4 minutes and 38 seconds remaining in the 4th and final period. They're putting the ball right at the 25. The series started just inside the Michigan 35-yard line, so that with the ball resting 22 yards in from the far eastern sideline, the Ohio State Buckeyes in control, in command right now, but they trail, and that's the important thing as far as Michigan's concerned. Michigan has 14. Ohio State has 6. 4 minutes and 13 seconds remaining. The I formation. There's Gerald pitching off the spring. He's into the open. He's hit at the 20. He breaks the tackle. He's down to the 15-10. Knocked out of bounds at the 3-yard line. He's knocked out of bounds by Owens. 4 minutes and 4 seconds remaining. Ohio State is 1 yard away from coming back into contention. It would make it 14-12. No, they're claiming he stepped out of bounds at the 8-yard line. They're claiming he stepped out of bounds at the 8-yard line. So Michigan's defense, that has been called on so many times over the last 101 games under Schembechler, is asked once more to stop this great Ohio State football team of 1977, the 4th-ranked team in the nation, from moving 8 yards in 4 plays. It's the I formation, spring steep, and Logan close. Rod Gerald under center. He rolls out to the right. He keeps it. He fumbles the ball. It's recovered by Michigan at the 18-yard line. It's recovered by Michigan. The maize and blue go wild. Ufer is calm, cool, and collected. Fielding H. Yost wherever you are. You smile down. You put the whammy on Ohio State. It was Derek Howard. Oh, how the fates, the fortunes of football change. Ohio State has beaten Michigan 4 times. 4 times Woody has bested Bo, and 3 out of those 4 years, Michigan has had every statistic except the final score, and now it is Michigan coming back, and the Wolverines pick up a tremendous turnover, the finest turnover in 98 years of Michigan football. This is the kind of a play that prompted Louis Elbaugh to write the victors 76 years ago in Chicago when a little Michigan halfback ran 72 yards against the University of Chicago to win the Big Ten championship for Michigan in 1898. And little Louis Elbaugh went back to a hotel there in Chicago, and he wrote what has become, in the words of the late John Philip Sousa, the greatest college fight song ever written, the Michigan Victors. You know, I feel kind of dizzy right now, a little bit numb upstairs. I really do. Lundo?
Bob, I'll tell you, let's give a lot of credit to that defense. That was something else. They rose to the occasion again. Gerald ran the option, went to pitch and got popped just as he was pitching the ball. It was laying out there. Fumble was there. We picked it up and recovered. So the defense rose to the occasion again. We got 3 minutes and 58 seconds to go.
Who do you have on
there? Let's see if we can control it all the way. You ready, Robert?
Okay, down on the playing field, Rick White is coming into the Michigan huddle right now. The Wolverines, after picking up the second Ohio State turnover, and it couldn't come at a more opportune time. What a tremendous turnover, a fumble that was recovered on the Michigan 18-yard line. It's Smith, Deep, and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center at quarterback. Wide to the right is Rick White. Ricky Leach looks over a tight 7-4 defensive alignment, and Ricky Leach hands off to the fullback, and he's hit right there at the 22-yard line. It's Russell Davis right up over the center, moving over the right side and picking up 7 yards on the play. Okay, the ball rests 21 yards in from the western sideline. The Michigan Wolverines leading in the contest 14-6, 3 minutes and 33 seconds remaining. Up over the ball comes Walt Downing. The line follows its balance. Wide to the left is Stevenson. It's the I formation. Smith deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center with 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Michigan leading 14-6. Ricky Leach rolls out. Pitches off to Rosie. He's up over the 20, the 24. Michigan on 2nd and 7 needs to pick up a first down here because Ohio State could still move that ball down this Canham's carpet and come right back into contention as they were a few moments ago when they coughed up the ball on the Michigan 9-yard line. There's a timeout down on the playing field right now. A timeout down on the playing field, and we're going to call time in over this, the very maize and blue Michigan Football Network. Ufer here with 2 minutes and 56 seconds remaining in this Michigan-Ohio State football game of 1977. You know, excuse your old reporter if I sound a little bit down right now, but really, for the first time in 32 years or 33 years of broadcasting, I really felt awful lightheaded there for a few seconds. I just was so pleased that Michigan had finally gotten the big break, the big psychological break in a ball game. Now the question is, can they hold it? The ball is resting 18 yards in from the western sideline. And Michigan has the ball. It is a 3rd down 3 situation, the biggest 3rd down of the 1977 season. Michigan leads in the ball game 14-6. Ricky Leach has 2 tight ends in a balanced line. It's Smith deep and Davis close, the I formation. Leach looks over a 8-man front, and he rolls out to the right. He gives to Davis, and Davis does not pick up the first down. He gets a yard and a half. So Ohio State will have at least 2 minutes and 30 seconds to move down this field. Well, this is going to be a real cliffhanger, as the late and great Van Patrick used to say. Boy, oh boy, I'll tell you, who could ask for anything more? Isn't there a song like that? Well, 106,021 fans are sure getting their money's worth here today, along with about 60 million on TV. Johnny Anderson standing back on his own 12-yard line. Lilja over the ball at the Michigan 25-yard line. There is the snap from center. It is not. There it is. Now he's kicking. It's almost blocked. He gets a beautiful high spiral. It's Guess on the 28. Guess is hit right there at the 34-yard line. 2 minutes and 10 seconds between Michigan and Pasadena, or Ohio State and Pasadena. A 46-yard kick with an 8-yard return. Incidentally, this broadcast is made possible by the University of Michigan. It is intended for the private use of our listening audience. Rebroadcast or other use of this play-by-play is prohibited unless prior consent is given from radio station WJR in Detroit and or the University of Michigan. Announcers for this tremendous football game are selected and employed by WJR Radio, and they're proud to bring you this one, believe you me. It's the I formation, Springs deep and Logan close. Gerald's back for Pat. Cocks his arm. Can't find a receiver. He's going to run with the ball. He's up over the 40. He's hit at the 45. He's still on his feet at the 47. The clock continues to run. 2 minutes remaining. Woody Hayes is going berserk along the eastern sideline. Look out with those first down markers, gentlemen. He's liable to pick them up and tear them apart. He did it here 6 years ago in 1971. The magnified despair of defeat is the agony of success that all great coaches have to face up to when they lose. The great coaches don't lose very often, but when they do, they owe it to their fans to lose with poise and dignity, and that's what Bo Schembechler demonstrated in all of his 4 losses to Ohio State, even though he'd outplayed the Buckeyes 3 out of 4, and I'm not so sure you can say that for old Dr. Strange Hayes, especially in 1971, when he broke up those first down markers over across the field, went absolutely bananas on a pass interception by Tommy Darden. But that's history. The facts are, in 1977, Michigan has a 14-6 lead. There are 2 minutes remaining on the digital scoreboards. It is a situation down on the field right now that finds Tedesco, the very fine defensive end. Dominic Tedesco, he's hurt. He's being carried off the field. It looks like it might be his arm. It is his arm. He should get a tremendous hand from the fans. He's a senior along with 21 other Michigan seniors. To name them, besides Tedesco, Anderson, Bettis, Brown, Donahue, Downing, Graves, Harding, Hicks, Howard, Johnson, Cadella, Ken, King, LeBun, Mackel, Pickens, Richardson, Smith, Kurt Stevenson, Jerry Zara, Rick White, all those men playing their final game for the Maize and Blue here on Canham's carpet in 1977. And the question is, can Michigan hold on here? Rod Gerald sets his team 1st and 10 on the Buckeye 47-yard line. Springs deep and Logan close. Gerald's back for pass. Throws it downfield. It's caught by Springs. He's hit right there at the midfield stripe. Picked up a completed pass, but only a 2.5-yard gain. 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining on the digital scoreboards. And look at old Owens and Simpkins. Simpkins made the tackle, and then he jumped up to get the signal from the sidelines from Bill McCartney. Michigan's defensive coaches working their brains out right now. Boy, Tommy Reed and Dennis Brown and Bill McCartney. There is a drop-back pass by Gerald. It's a long bomb, and it is incomplete. Harold is the intended receiver, and Mike Jolly with him, and there is no pass interference. There is no interference on the part of the intended receiver, and the pass was just overthrown, stopping the clocks with 1 minute and 25 seconds remaining. The point is now, can Michigan hang on to an 8-point lead? They had a 7-point lead with 3 minutes to go 2 years ago, and they didn't keep it. Oh boy, this is a football game none of us will ever forget. And do you know, my daughter-in-law is giving birth to my grandson in the Ann Arbor Hospital right now. I don't know whether it's a boy or girl, but out on the field I know it's a Schembechler. There's the pass. It's the Springs to the Michigan 46-yard line. It's a first down no, it is not a first down, but it is a precious pass reception. It brings up 4th down and 3 yards to go. This is it. The whole cotton-picking football game. 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining in the contest. Ohio State has the ball on the Michigan 47-yard line. This is a strain on Woody Hayes' heart, on Bo Schembechler's heart, on the hearts of 106,024 fans, and I imagine all you listeners are real calm, cool, and collected. Boy, I'll bet you are. Isn't this fun? God darn it, this is what college football's all about. 2 old rivals, 2 great teams, 2 of the greatest coaches in the country, battling it out down here on a football field. The brains, just think of the football brains encompassed in the minds of Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler, and they've been playing like 2 old chess players all game long. Bo went in at halftime with a lead of 7-3. Woody decided, what do I do? What did I do so well in that first quarter? Well, I ran the option play. So Woody came back out here in the 3rd period, and he ran the option play, and he ran it pretty well. But he didn't run it quite well enough because McCartney's monsters just came through beautifully. If you have to give the deciding factor if Michigan wins this game, it has to be, I've said it before, but it bears repeating, the hallmark of Michigan football under Schembechler, defense, defense, defense. That's the name of the game. The average score of every Michigan game in 101 games, Michigan 30, the opponent's 8. Here it is, 4th down and 3. There is Gerald pitching off to Logan. Spring, he's hit. He goes out of bounds. Michigan takes over. The Wolverines have done it, I believe. It is 14 for Michigan. Ohio State 6. And the Wolverines now have the ball on their own 45-yard line. And there's only one thing you for sure of now. Schembechler will stay on the ground, just like George Patton did when he won those victories over Adolf Hitler. Well, I tell you, old Bo, George Patton, Schembechler is going to stay on the ground now. And why not blow the horn? What the hell? Michigan hasn't scored, but let's have a... Oh, Bo, George Patton, Schembechler with 1 minute and 6 seconds remaining on the digital scoreboard. He is leading his nemesis from across the way, 14-6. Ricky Leach may curl up like a ball. He curls up like a ball with the ball on the Michigan 44-yard line. Ohio State has 1 timeout left. 56 seconds from here to paradise, to eternity. Oh, brother, they said that he couldn't do it. They said Michigan couldn't beat this great Ohio State team that through a 10-game season had run up 331 points, limiting the opposition to 71. An Ohio State team that had averaged 419 yards a game. An Ohio State team that was just an onside kick away from being unbeaten, untied, and number one in the country. Ricky Leach takes the snap from center, but I believe there was a penalty on the play. Too much time between plays. Michigan's penalized 5 yards. Look at the crowd. The overflow crowd is starting to move out onto the playing field, realizing that it'll be Pasadena for Michigan. They go back to the scene of the crime of January 1st of 1976. There's no way they're going to get a shot at Southern California, but I tell you, the second part of the vendetta for the 76 team will be completed out there on January 1st of 1978. The first part was that Purdue episode last week down at Lafayette when Michigan came back so brilliantly to turn back the Boilermakers 40-7 after losing a year ago, 16-14. Now they have to go out and play Washington or UCLA. Ricky Leach curls over the ball. There are 22 seconds remaining, and I don't think you're going to see that ball snapped again. Ohio State and Woody Hayes will walk up that long walk up the eastern sideline. The Buckeyes are calling timeout, but that is of no consequence because all Michigan has to do when the clock starts is curl up under the ball, and then Ohio has no timeouts left, and that'll be the ball game. There is no way Michigan will not come out the winner here this afternoon, and the series will be all even. Woody with 4, and Bo with 4, and one game ending in a tie. And now Bo Schembechler will have 62 wins, while Woody Hayes will only have 61 wins in Big Ten play down through the years. And no Michigan man will ever forget today, as they didn't in 1969, or again in 71, or again last year in 1976. Ricky Leach is under center with 22 seconds remaining. Michigan 14, and there it is. That's all there is. There isn't any more. I don't want you to ever forget today. The crowd is going to go bananas here in just about 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 second. Listen to 106,000 fans. And don't ever forget with the final score, Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. This was the day that Ohio came to bury Michigan, all wrapped in maize and blue. The words were said, the prayers were read, and everybody cried. But when they closed the coffin, there was someone else inside. Oh, the Buckeyes came to bury the Wolverines, but Michigan wasn't dead. And when this game is over, it'll be someone else instead. 22 Michigan Wolverines are putting on the gloves of gray. And as Cavender will break out the victors, they'll lay Woody Hayes away over this, the very maize and blue, Rose Bowl-bound football network. You know, the Buckeyes came, saw, and they were conquered by a stubborn band of Wolverines who saw Ohio State take the opening kickoff and move 77 yards in 15 plays, and they went ahead on an 18-yard field goal to lead in the ball game 3-0, and it looked like they might blow the Wolverines right off Canham's carpet. But then Michigan's defense, as it has so many times over the past 101 games over 9 years, was able to meet the strength of Ohio State's offense. And finally, the Wolverines put together, after a fine punt return, a 46-yard drive in 9 plays, and the Wolverines went on top at halftime 7-3. Smith went in to climax that 46-yard drive. The extra point was good, and it was still anybody's football game at halftime. Then Michigan came out in the second half, and they received the second half kickoff. They could do nothing. And then they punted to Ohio State. The Ohio State Buckeyes moved downfield and missed on a field goal. Then Michigan came back and could do nothing. Then Ohio State took the following kick, and then the Buckeyes coughed up the all-important first turnover of the ball game. Michigan capitalized with Ricky Leach going in on that 20-yard mini drive for a touchdown in 4 plays to give Michigan what looked like a good commanding 14-3 lead. But these Ohio State Buckeyes, remember, they're number 4 in the nation right now, and they're only an onside kick away from being unbeaten, untied, and the number 1 team in the nation coming into the ball game. They came back determined. and they came back and they moved 85 yards in 12 plays. And again, that fine place kicker split the uprights, and Ohio was back in 14-6. But then the real turning point in the ball game, with 4th down and 1 yard to go on the Michigan 10-yard line, McCartney's Monsters rose to the occasion. They stopped the Buckeyes short of the all-important 1st down, and you could just see the momentum then turn from scarlet and gray to maize and blue. The Wolverines came back upfield, sustained 3 first down. Then Ohio State took the following kick, and they moved about 30 yards, but that was it. That was all she wrote. The Buckeyes, ironically enough, so many times over the last 9 years, Michigan has had the statistics, but Ohio State has had the final score. Today, listen to this, Ohio State, 353 yards to Michigan's 210. The Wolverines, though, Hanlon's Hustlers Hanlon's Hustlers up in front of Nayland's Nifties, rose up to the occasion when they had to, and they put 14 big points on the scoreboard, 210 yards, and Ohio State had but 2 field goals all afternoon behind 353 yards, and I wonder what Dr. Strange Hayes will have to say about that. Here's another statistic that looks like the Michigan games of 72 and 74. It's Michigan 10 first downs, Ohio State 22. 3rd down situations, Michigan converted 4 out of 11. Ohio State 8 out of 16. In passes, Michigan 3 out of 9. Rod Gerald never had a better day passing, 13 out of 16. But the statistic, the only one that counts, that puts Michigan in the Pasadena Classic, Michigan 14, Ohio State 6. In punting, Michigan was superior in that statistic, 6 punts, averaging just as average coming into the ball game, 41 yards a kick. Johnny Anderson did a tremendous job with that right foot of his here this afternoon. As far as individual performances are concerned, for the Ohio State Buckeyes, first it was Logan, 15 carries for 41 yards. Springs looked good this afternoon, carrying times for 83 yards. Gerald, 21 times for 52 yards, mostly on broken plays. And Camel 9 times for 14 yards. In pass receiving, Springs again, catching 8 passes, a lot of them right over the center, and I'd like Coach Hanlon to talk about that particular play, because if there was a thorn in the side of Michigan, it was that little delayed pass to the tailback over the center. He caught 8 of those, good for 58 yards. Jones had 1 for 14, Jaco 1 for 14, and Harrell 3 for 57. Michigan this afternoon, Davis became the 6th big Michigan runner to go for 1,000 yards in a season. He needed 42 yards. He picked up 57 yards on 17 carries. Huckabee 9 times for 16 yards. Roosevelt Smith rising to the occasion here today, 11 carries for 47 yards. And Ricky Leach, the guts and the glue of the maize and blue, the masterful quarterback who conducts it all, 10 times for 23 yards. In pass receiving, the 3 passes were caught. Clayton 1 for 25 yards. Marsh 1 for 8 yards. Smitty 1 for 22 yards. The final score, the only statistic that really counts, Rose Bowl-bound Michigan. The Wolverines with their 28th Big Ten championship, and Michigan won the ball game 14-6, and a very smiling Irishman is seated right here beside me, Jerry Hanlon. He and Bob Foreman are going to take over the microphone right after these messages over this, the Michigan Championship Achieved Football Network.
Bob Foreman back at Michigan Stadium, where the scene can best be described as chaotic. 106,000 people, most of them are still milling around the stadium. The goalposts have been torn down. There is confetti and toilet paper and anything else you want to describe littered all over the field. The Michigan band is playing in midfield with its hats on backwards, and this is obviously a happy crowd. And along with me, as Bob Ufer so aptly described, is the Jolly Irishman, the offensive line coach, the offensive director, we should say, of this Michigan football team. But, Jerry, I would describe your mood as I look at it, not gregarious, but somewhat somber and gratified and delighted that the game is over with and in the win column.
Well, the big thing, Bob, of course, when you go into a game like this, you're so high to go into the thing, and after it's over with, it takes you a little bit of time to really realize what's happened. I just can't say enough about our defense today. I think one of them should be here talking to you. They just did a tremendous job. I'm proud of our offense. We didn't move the ball as well as I'd like to have. The statistics show that. But when it comes right down to it, when we needed to get a couple of things done, they got them done. And I think that's the sign of a real good football team. And I'm just so tremendously proud. And if I'm a little somber, it's simply because I realize what's happened yet.
Well, you'll realize that tomorrow when Bo and the rest of you start planning your Rose Bowl visit. You know, Jerry, you're right. Statistically, we're not on the strong side of the game as we have been in previous games with Ohio State, but in a sense, that's the whole situation. So many times, 3, maybe out of 4 games that I can recall, Ohio State has held the advantage in terms of winning, and we've held the statistical advantage. It's nice to have it turned around the other way, where we've won ourselves a football game, and maybe the battle of the statistics went elsewhere. But I also think we should take time right now to credit a fine Ohio State University football team. They, after all, Jerry, are co-champions of the Big Ten. A superb group of young men came down here and gave it their all, and their defense is one of the reasons the statistics are as they are. So they put a super football game. I think credit should go to that football team.
Well, without a doubt, Bob, I'll tell you, if everybody connected with this football game would conduct themselves the way the two teams do on the field, it would be a much more tremendous spectacle in my estimation. I just can't say enough about the young men who play on both sides of that line of scrimmage. You never see anything out of the ordinary. It is without a doubt the cleanest, hardest fought, finest football game that you're ever going to be involved in. The coaching is the same way. We rival each other, we kid each other, but I think we have deep respect for one another. And I think that's what happens on that football field. Two teams with tremendous respect for one another, and when they go out there, they give it everything they've got. And if everybody else connected with the game would only do the same thing, this would be a much greater spectacle than it already is.
Well, I would certainly agree, and I think to sum it up, we're talking about kids. I think we forget about that. As I mentioned earlier, we're talking about people 18, 19, 20 years of age. These are not the pros. These are kids who are going to make mistakes. They do conduct themselves well. They are students, Jerry, and they are kids going to college, playing the game of football. I think our hats should go off to all of them. Also to the coaches. The coaches, I think, bring the best out of the kids, and you see the example of discipline in both the Ohio State and the Michigan team, and it starts with the coaching. Jerry, all week long, did you have any feelings about this game? Now that it's over with, you won it. How did you feel about it as you started to set up during the week?
Well, I kind of felt it would be the type of game it turned out to be, Bob. I felt that it would be a very close football game. We were very, very equal in a lot of situations. We've been injured, as you know, most of the year and haven't had our offense really in high gear like we thought it might be. They got their quarterback back after last year not having him. We knew that they'd be tough offensively. We know that we're both good defensive football teams. So it was a matter of who was going to get a break here and was able to capitalize on it. And I think that's exactly what happened. We got a break when they fumbled the football down there. We were able to take it in for a score. We turned around and gave them a break by fumbling shortly after that, but they weren't able to take advantage of it. So it's just one of those things. That's what this game's all about. You get breaks, but you've got to capitalize them on them, or you've got to take up the challenge when you do give up a break, and you've got to stop them. And that's what our team was able to do today, and that's why we won the football game.
And when it comes right down to it, what the game is all about, you had to win this one. You couldn't even tie it. And it looked like we were going to get ourselves in a situation with the score being what it was, where Ohio State might go down and go for the tie. And the tie in this case was a defeat for Michigan because we couldn't go to Rose Bowl under those circumstances. But that's all in the past. That didn't happen. We won the football game. By the way, you'd be interested to know, Jerry, that John Anderson, who has played superbly all season, has been named by ABC as the defensive player of the game, and I think you would agree that should go to John. He played a strong game. Not only did he play a strong game defensively, but he had a 41-yard punting average, and he put that ball down, and I remember in the second quarter where he booted 136 yards down someplace within the 10-yard line, which really put Ohio State back and took away the opportunity to move the ball down the field against us. So he deserves that honor and has done a superb job. Ron Springs of Ohio State was ABC's offensive player of the year of the game, and I think he's certainly entitled to that.
Well, they were. I was going to say, Bob, they were certainly fine choices. I think Springs did an excellent job for him, and I know John Anderson has done a job for us all year long. In my estimation, he's as fine a hand as there is in the country, and I think along with his kicking, he certainly is an important factor in our football team.
Jerry, we now think about the Rose Bowl. Up until this point, that was taboo. We didn't talk about the Rose Bowl. We now can plan on it. As the alumni director, I can tell you that we have a brochure in the mail right now to our alumni announcing our official alumni tour to the Rose Bowl. I won't suggest to you that we had any alternative brochures anywhere else. We're just pleased that we're going to send that one out. When will you start? Do you have any time at all after this game to savor it and enjoy it? And when do you start thinking about the Rose Bowl?
No, sometimes, Bob, I wonder why we're so happy, because all we do is create more work for ourselves. We have to immediately get on the road and do some recruiting now. As you well know, we've got to do a little practicing here in Ann Arbor before we go to the coast, and so therefore we have to cut down our amount of time we have to go out and do recruiting for next year. We can't let that go. So we'll be on the road recruiting very shortly. We have our own little team banquet this week on Monday, but then I think we'll probably get out on the road and go out and do some recruiting. And I hope we get to spend Thanksgiving Day with our families, and then we'll be right back out on the road recruiting until it comes time to get ready to start our practice. We have to work in plans for the Rose Bowl as far as game plans, things like that. Start looking at films of the opponent. We don't know who it's going to be yet. And so there's a lot of work has to be done, but it's primarily recruiting for the next couple of weeks, trying to get started on that phase of our football.
Well, Jerry, on behalf of all of us, congratulations not just on this victory, but on a superb season all the way along the line. A crushing loss at Minnesota that might have taken the heart out of a lot of football teams. Certainly did in Michigan. We came back, played well, got ourselves set up for this key game, and then won it by making the key play and taking advantage. As you said earlier, you had the opportunities. Both teams had them as a result of some mistakes, but we capitalized on them, and that helped us. So congratulations to you, congratulations to Bo and the rest of your coaching colleagues, but most importantly, congratulations to the young men of Michigan who took it to them today, won, and we're delighted, and we'll see you in the Rose Bowl.
Well, Bob, thank you very much, and just like to say hello to everybody again, particularly Mom if she's listening, and I hope that we can do a job out in the Rose Bowl and make us the victor out there also.
Excellent. We're going to be right back with Bob Ufer's wrap-up after this word on this, the Michigan Football Network.
That's all there is. There isn't any more. The Michigan football team, the Michigan band playing in the background, and Bob Ufer wrapping up the grand and glorious 1977 championship football season. It's Michigan's 28th Big Ten championship. It's Bo Schembechler's 7th Big Ten championship in 9 years as head coach here at the Wolverine School. And it happened to be our 325th consecutive broadcast of a Michigan football game over the past 33 years. And you know something, football fans, in closing out both broadcasts, last year's 76 game down at Columbus, and this year's 77 Michigan-Ohio State game played here in Ann Arbor, this old reporter has been in a complete state of maize and blue ecstasy. The legendary Fritz Chrysler used to say, when you win, there's enough for everybody, and how true that statement is. And the lovable Benny Esteban, who will forget old Ben? No one ever will that's connected with Michigan. He's the greatest football player Michigan ever had. He was head coach here in the middle 1950s. Old Benny used to say, when you win, it doesn't matter who does it or how, just so Michigan wins. And old General Bo Schembechler's favorite lines are, what the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve, and those who stay will be champions. All these thoughts and many more are swimming around in this old reporter's mind right now. But what can I possibly add to what Coach Jerry Hanlon just said a few moments ago about this great Michigan victory here over Ohio State this afternoon, except to say at this point in our broadcast, we'd certainly be remiss if we didn't say Godspeed and good luck to 22 Michigan seniors who played their last game here at Michigan. They played their hearts out. It was a tremendous Wolverine victory. Wolverine fans will long remember the great line play of co-captain and center Walt Downing, All-American guard Mark Donahue, and All-Big Ten tackle Mike Kent. I'll always remember co-captain Dwight Hicks and those key interceptions throughout this past 1977 season, and the great defensive play and punting of All-American candidate and defensive end, and the TV award winner here this afternoon, John Anderson. These 5 men, along with 17 other Michigan seniors, are now looking forward to the last game of their Michigan careers out there in Pasadena, California, the scene of the crime of January 1st of 1977. Yes, sir, Michigan will certainly have a lot of incentives going for this coming January 1st in this year's Pasadena Classic. I know I'm not going to miss that one, and I know you probably won't either. But that's all in the future. Right now, that Michigan locker room across the way underneath the stands there on the eastern sideline, it's probably bedlam right now. I can see the Wolverine coaches and players showered in big red roses, California roses to be exact, while across the way, Ohio, even in defeat, they've got to have visions of sugar plums dancing in their heads right now, as it's almost assured that the Buckeyes will head to the Sugar Bowl to play Alabama come January 1st. And while we're touching on a bit of poetry, mentioning the visions of sugar plums, let's see how old Robert Frost Ufer sums up this Michigan 1977 Big Ten championship football season in poetry. With a Michigan band playing the alma mater in the background, the yellow and blue, here's how old Robert Frost just saw this 77 season completed. Big Bo is a winner, it can't be denied. Few have defeated him, though many have tried. The Illini with Moeller would love to have won. but Bo showed Mo it just couldn't be done. Then Duke was throttled, the Navy was sunk. Texas A&M was roped and branded. The Spartans from State put up a great fight, but another defeat they were handed. Then who would believe, not the Badgers I'll bet, that they would be beaten so soundly? But up jumped the devil with his little brown jug, and Bo's maize and blue suffered profoundly. Down but not out was Bo's blue machine, as the Hawkeyes were taught to believe, for Bo and his troops got right back on track as a homecoming win they achieved. Then Northwestern scored first, got 20 big points, but that's just about all they could do, for Bo's Wolverines amassed quite a score, getting set for Jim Young and Purdue. Now everyone saw what this game meant. The whole season hinged on the score, but Bo's Wolverines stood up to the test. Who could ask for anything more? Ohio and Michigan, Woody and Bo, 22 men all psyched up to go. The Rose Bowl, the championship, always at stake. The day draws near, fans breathlessly wait. The Buckeyes roared in for the game of the year. The teams, the coaches were all in high gear. Bo and his boys designed all the plays, and the Buckeyes went home with a maize and blue haze. Right now, we'd certainly have to take one more look at the Bo Schembechler scoreboard at the end of Michigan's 1977 season under old genial General Bo, who's got to be genial and smiling right now. Today's big victory over Ohio State not only gives Michigan their 28th Big Ten football championship to Ohio State's 21 down through the years, but it's also Bo Schembechler's 7th Big Ten football championship in his 9 seasons here at Michigan. Bo's victory here this afternoon means that he's won 86 games as head coach of the Wolverines. He's lost only 12. That's winning at the rate of 88% of his ball games over 9 years, and over this same 9 season, old Woody Hayes has won 81 and lost 15. In Big Ten play, today's victory over the Buckeyes gives Bo at Michigan 62 Big Ten victories against only 7 losses, while Woody remains at 61 wins, and now old Dr. Strange Hayes has 8 Big Ten losses. Woody and Bo, however, are all even Steven, 4 for Bo, 4 for Woody, and 1 game played to a tie in the 9 scenarios between the 2 great coaches. Bo's teams in 101 games have now run up 3,060 points, limiting those 101 opponents to a mere 843, or an average score of every Michigan game under Schembechler in 9 full years. Michigan 30, the opponents 8. And finally, listen to this one. Only 3 schools in the entire country have beaten Bo Schembechler at Michigan in his last 92 regular season games. Nobody, no other coach in the country has credentials like these over the last full 9 years of intercollegiate football. Oh, we can sum it up by say, what a coach, what a team, what a school. And now you think Bob Ufer gets carried away. I just want to take a few seconds to let you know how our counterpart down in Brazil 3 weeks ago over a 50,000-watt station, just like we're feeding the network over, WJR in Detroit, how he sounded in the final 60 seconds of play for the National Soccer Championship in Brazil. The next voice you will hear will be that of a Portuguese speaking in Portuguese. He's a sportscaster, and this is how he summed up their great championship game 3 weeks ago Saturday. And that was Bob Ufer's counterpart in South America. When you listened to him, I'm sure you thought that I just conducted a funeral service out here on Canham's carpet. You know, in wrapping it all up today, at this point in our final broadcast of this season, we'd like to take just a moment to say that we realize that old Bob Ufer does get carried away from time to time in the heat of play-by-play. But if at any time we've offended anybody in any way, believe me, football fans, it was a slip of the tongue and not of the heart. I guess you realize by now that I love football, and I love Michigan, and I wouldn't say or do anything to hurt either one. These last 33 years of broadcasting Michigan football have been a complete labor of love for old yours truly, and if you've enjoyed these broadcasts just half as much as we've enjoyed bringing them to you, I guess that's all we could ever ask. At the moment, The Michigan Stadium is still covered with a blanket of maize and blue as far as I'm concerned. The record crowd of 106,024 fans have wound their way back to their cars, and at this particular moment in time, every cotton-picking Michigan fan across the country has a real warm feeling, and once again, Michigan truly is, as the last line in the greatest college fight song ever written indicates, once again, champions of the West. Today's broadcast, as have all broadcasts all season long, came to you over the Michigan Football Network. The final score once again, championship achieved, and Rose Bowl bound Michigan 14 to Wash Bowl or possibly Sugar Bowl bound Ohio State 6.
To you, Ohio State, to you, Columbus, we say thank you. Thank you and goodbye. We will miss you in the fall, in the winter, in the spring, but someday we shall return. Till then, goodbye, Ohio State. Goodbye, red and white. Goodbye, Columbus. Goodbye, Columbus. Goodbye.
Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Touchdown, Dennis Franklin! Oh my God! Touchdown! It is caught by Gordy Bell! Ricky Leach, touchdown! Ricky Leach scores! Oh my goodness gracious sake, that's the finest touchdown! I thought he was... I'm speechless! Jimmy Smith collects in a beautifully thrown pass! Touchdown! Larry Reed, the freshman from New Jersey, electrifies the crowd and pulls the ball around Rhino. Picks up touchdown number 28 on his career. He has climaxed the great big Michigan afternoon.